That's right. And those potential winners bracket semifinals matchups we will see today. That's what's so much fun about Saturday nights, especially. But guess what? Our first matchup is just around the corner. You just saw it on screen. We will have Oxygen going up against Fire and Ice in what could be a game that goes to game 5 here, Ryan.
Yeah, definitely. These are two teams that have been playing very, very well. The two teams that are very excited for this major. I always love seeing Rocky on social and how positive he is and how much he just loves playing the game, loves competing, loves his team. It's a team I'm definitely just looking forward to seeing their performance this weekend. Then you have Fire and Ice, like Jordan said, a team that did not win a single match in the Pro League. But to their credit, they've looked pretty strong this weekend so far. They took E United all the way to a game 5. They weren't able to close that out, but they're playing at a high level. So while Oxygen definitely would be considered the favorite here, I would not count this Fire and Ice team out at all. I think both of these teams are going to kick off with a hot one.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's start to break down these rosters, starting with Oxygen. Rocky and Bronny, the two players that played for E United and Vanquish in the spring major, and obviously performed very, very well. Kind of came out of nowhere as rookies back last year. They're playing alongside Scavzy, who had one of the best single sniper plays I've seen in a long time. It makes me feel actually embarrassed to play Gears of War after watching Scavzy play. And of course, Abolics rounds out this roster overall. So, Bribs, talk me through them. What makes this roster so great?
Yeah, I mean, these are 4 extremely technically sound players. It's an NA team that kind of has that Latin American mindset of wolf packing and being ready for revives and just trusting each other's gun skill, winning your shotgun fights. Any of these players get a power weapon, they're going to be, making plays and highlights. So, I mean, it's just one of those teams and they also had a little bit of trials and tribulation yesterday. They had a map 5 that they lost, and then they also came out strong at the end of the night and got a 3-0 versus Highs. So they're getting kind of both of those, the best of both worlds out of their Friday pool play. We'll see how that fares today, starting with an early morning match. You know how hard it is to just get the gears going in an early morning match.
That's right. Also, based on what hey, production, can we throw the picture back up for Oxygen real quick? Because this is really important to call out. Last time we called out some of the LATAM players. This is a team I would not want to mess with, right? This is the most tough looking team in all of Gears Esports. Minus Scavzy, but look at the 3 on the right. I am avoiding these guys in any altercations at all times. Oxygen Esports, not only can they frag in Gears, they will mess you up IRL as well. Meanwhile, let's break down the Fire and Ice roster, the LATAM boys themselves. We got none other than Rapidz, Toxiq, Soler, and Chavii. Let's take a look here. These guys don't even have a picture. They don't even have a face. I feel much different about this squad. Ryan, talk me through them.
Yeah, another definition of kind of those new wave of players starting to break through from the Latin American region. We've always known there's just an unreal amount of talent in the Latin American region. You see players like Toxiq and Solar, they have headshots because they've been to events before, right? So they've gotten their feet wet a little bit, but we're getting to see Chavii kind of come alive this split for the first time. He's been so fun to watch. We've of course seen Rapidz time and time again throughout Challenger. This is a team that still has a lot to learn. They're a team that's definitely pretty new to being kind of in this pro league upper echelon, but they're very, very skilled. That's what makes this matchup so exciting. We talk about the amount of just individual talent and skill on Oxygen. This Fire and Ice team also has a ton of individual skill. That's what I'm looking forward to the most, just seeing which of these teams kind of wins those wolf pack fights. Like Jordan said, you're going to see a lot of close quarter action, a lot of just big shotgun fights, and it's going to be a fun one.
Yeah, that's right. And, that's one thing you got to love about the Fire and Ice organization as a whole. I mean, for the longest time now, since Gears 4 early on, Fire and Ice has been supporting the LATAM community by finding these future superstars, supporting these future superstars. So big shout to Fire and Ice, Jason and co. And it's been awesome to see them also venture into games like Halo and doing some more things, supporting more communities in the Xbox front. But again, big shout out to this Fire and Ice roster. I'm excited to see what they can do. Young guns that could shake up the bracket. We know they're talented, Ribs. Do you think they have a chance against this Oxygen squad who's been looking so strong?
Oh, undoubtedly. I was telling Taylor off stream, like they could come and get this upset and also beat Rise. You never know. And that's just one of the things you have to love about it. And you know me, John, I'm a huge advocate of losing is learning, and they're winless in Pro League. It's just such a great opportunity here for them to say, I'm going to put all of that in the past. I'm going to show you that matters to an extent, but this matchup here is all that matters. This first map, that first engagement, and that's how you go. And then the camaraderie of it all, once you get the gears going and once you get the momentum, this could be the best team of Saturday. Or they could just go ahead and lose to Oxygen, and that'll just be another typical matchup. But that's what we're here for, is to see those big upsets, and we've seen them in the past.
Yeah, well, let's take a look at our stats matchup here and see how they match up exactly. Of course, you mentioned it, the Pro League placement is important, but this is the $120,000 major. This is where it matters to show up the most. And head-to-head matchup, well, we'd be remiss not to include Abolics, former member of the Kansas City Pioneers, absolutely dominant player in Gears 5, 1.9 KDA in the Pro League Split 1. Tons of damage dealt out. Meanwhile, he's going up against Soler. Ryan, talk me through how do these two match up in your eyes?
Yeah, these are two very, very talented players. Abolics is one of the most fun players to watch in Gears Esports. He has that just pop-off potential to go off for a 2-piece, 3-piece. He's incredibly, incredibly talented. One of the best snipers we have in Gears Esports, so expect him to make big plays. This Oxygen team is playing at their best when he is putting up big slaying numbers. And again, you see Solar, right? His stats in terms of the rankings are going to be definitely on the lower end because their Pro League record was kind of what it was, right? So not the most opportunity to put up a lot of numbers, but another player we've seen throughout Challenger beginning to break his way into the pro scene, who is very, very skilled as well. So both of these players are very important for their respective teams.
Yeah, more than meets the eye with that stats graphic for sure, because you're obviously playing a lot less maps if you're losing that quickly in Pro League overall. So that's a lot to be said there. But speaking of maps, let's take a look at the map picks and bans and see what exactly we'll be playing on today between Execution, Control, and of course, we got District, Checkout, Harbor, Ritual, and Tomb will be our last map. Shot to my man Strangulate in that one. And these map picks and bans, Ribs, anything that's sticking out?
Yeah, well, for Fire and Ice, District being their first map has been one of their bread and butters. When they don't lose 3-0, it's because they usually win District, and we saw it yesterday versus United. So I love that pick for Fire and Ice. I love the fact that they could come out and get some momentum. But once again, Checkout is one of those maps a lot of these teams have specialized in. Oxygen, one of them. I'm expecting a 1-1 map count going into the Escalation. And Ryan and I, we've talked about it all the time. It's such a pivotal point in every single one of these series. That escalation, that single escalation is going to be important in this matchup as well.
Yeah, Ryan, anything else to add to that?
Yeah, just look at that first map. I mean, I believe, Jordan, that District was the map that Fire and Ice did win against United when they took them to that Game 5. I believe it was a District Control. So clearly a map that they are playing at a high level on. You mentioned Oxygen, very high level team on Checkout. So I do think, I am with you, I do think we could potentially see that 1-1 heading into that escalation, right? And that's, of course, a pick for Fire and Ice. They're definitely feeling confident on that map. So this has the potential to be a very, very good series.
I'm excited, and I gotta say, in particular, I'm particularly excited about the fact that this is my first Gears event where I get to watch Execution, and God knows how long, and that makes me so happy. I unfortunately missed the Summer Major, so it's gonna be good watching some Control, aka former King of the Hill, and Execution, in addition to Escalation, and the fact that it adds so much more depth and layer to how you guys get to break down map picks and bans, certain teams specializing in certain areas. So, with that said, based on what we saw in those map picks and bans, and based on what we've talked about so far, gentlemen, it's time for the prediction segment. I'm going to go first because I know the most here of anyone on this desk. I'm going to say Oxygen. Oxygen wins this 3-1 is my prediction. Riz, what you got?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Oxygen as well. And I think Fire and Ice did their best with the map picks to set themselves up for a potential map 4 or 5 scenario where they could clutch up. I do think Oxygen, especially with their strong finish last night, is going to win this matchup and get that matchup against the number 1 seed.
I love it. What's the map score? I need some more detailed predictions.
We'll do a 3-1 in favor of Oxygen. If we get to map 5, that's where the upset could happen, though.
Ooh. All right, we'll expect that. Good insights. Ryan, how about you?
I'm also going to go with Oxygen. I do actually love this map pool for Fire and Ice, so I do think this has the potential to start going pretty deep, but I do think up until this point, Oxygen is a better team. They are a more experienced team up until this point, so I am going to give them the nod. I'm with Jordan. I do think it's going to be a 3-1. I think that Fire and Ice can win that district.
All right. I like that. So we got a 3-1 across the board, but let the record show I said it first. These guys just copied my pick. And with that said, we got Oxygen and Fire and Ice about to be ready, locked and loaded. So we're going to welcome our casters here, do a little 5-box and chit-chat a little bit, because I miss these boys. What's up, Blaze? What's up, Reflections?
Hey, what's going on? Hey, it's good to see you, John. Fantastic. Welcome back.
Appreciate it, my friend. Way to hold down on the hosting role yesterday, as we, of course, are getting ready for game number 1 here to kick off Saturday Reflections. Real quick, give me a quick little touch. What are you thinking going into this one?
Oh, Oxygen is definitely the favorite for sure. But if Fire and Ice plays the way they did against the United yesterday, I believe Fire and Ice can go the distance. I think they 100% can go the distance if Fire and Ice does it. Blaze is thinking, I think it's going to be a 3-0. Blaze is the wizard. If you guys don't know, he's Divine Master. So whatever he says, it's going to be a 3-0. He knows it's going to be over with.
Blaze is like, stop with this madness, saying Fire and Ice has a chance. And not only that, he's giving his hand signals here because he has no audio live on stream. So Blaze is miming out and mimicking out things right now. We'll get him live on the mic.
Plug the microphone in, Blaze. Yeah, Blaze. Check the back. Plug the USB in.
Ridiculous.
Make sure
bro.
It's the USB 2.0. Just plug
Thank
it in.
Thank you. There we go. Okay, I'm back.
Blaze?
All right, sorry. I was trying to communicate to the voice of God. I was like, hey, can you just go to 3-box real quick so I can refresh?
3-0.
I was saying, no, 3-box, please.
Yeah,
no tech
so that wasn't a 3-0 indication.
I thought that was a map prediction.
Yeah, nah. Hey, granted, it's a good prediction to kick off the day, okay? A 3-0 to start this one off, all right? Because F9, man, if I tell you one thing, we've seen them get series close, but as we say, it don't matter how close you get it. If you can't win it, you can't win it. That's the issue.
Yeah.
It don't matter how flashy it is. An L is an L.
And they've been taking a lot of those lately. I'm gonna be honest with you. A lot of L's coming F9's way. But hey,
welcome, John.
Welcome back. Exactly. I love you. How you been? You good?
Yeah, to be in the fire, boys. All right, well, that's going to be it for us on the desk. Listen, I love this freaking 5-box. This is the best addition to Gears Esports broadcast since we had Blaze Star casting at WCG in 2007. That's going to be it for us, gentlemen. Over to you for game number 1. Take it away, boys.
Blaze, he's an encyclopedia. I know you are as well, but he knows literally everything there is to know, at least 2007 wise.
Honestly, when it comes down to John's knowledge of just esports and little bitty random facts,
it really is.
I honestly don't think anyone can match him. I truly don't.
I agree.
I know a lot of people, but I don't know if anybody got as much knowledge as he does. Even from the detail of, like, if you was to give him a map, he can probably put in every state at least 10 competitive esports players.
Oh, I agree.
The best of the best, I promise you.
Yeah, I like that about him. It's kind of his own personal flair. You know what I'm saying? I can go on and on about commentary and how we dissect it and break it down because, hey, you got to have respect and love whenever it comes to other casters and hosts. And that's how you keep learning and keep getting better. You can't think you're the best because if you think you're the best, well, you stop learning. Okay, and it's the same thing for the pros. So either way, man, we got Oxygen, F&I. It's going to be a good match to start off the day. Oxygen clearly the favorite here, Blaze. But F&I is a team that showed us yesterday they can go the distance, specifically against E United. They didn't get the victory, and after that, Fire and Ice didn't do much in the pool that they were in. And you said it best, man. It's good if you have a close series. It's great. It makes you look wonderful. But if you don't get the W, what's it all for? And Fire and Ice struggles to get the Ws.
Yeah, they do struggle to get the W. And it's honestly like... It's sad in a sense, only because, me, watching them and watching all the hard work they put in, it's just like, man, some of these series be epic, but after so many of them being L's, it's just like, all right, well, we expect them to make it close, but they're never going to pull out the win, right?
I know.
And we want them today to prove us wrong. And when you think about all the teams that's left in this tournament, who is the squad that they can best make an example out of, right? To best get their confidence up. A team that we've considered a dark horse for multiple different events. And I think Oxygen could be that roster. But on the flip end, Oxygen in the back of their heads, they say, hey, you know what? We want to be champions, okay? And we'll be damned if we be Fire and Ice's first loss here in the championship bracket after they went winless for an entire pro league. Oxygen does not want to be that team, okay? But so I will tell you this, what we're going to have to see with Oxygen is that as they take a loss to F&I, because I think they are going to lose a map in this series somewhere, okay?
Yep, I
agree.
agree.
The question is that if they lose map number 1 to F&I, a squad that we know who is really talented when it comes down towards the control game mode, if they do that, I'm curious to see how Oxygen is going to bounce back from that, right? Being down against this team with the pressure of the championship bracket, because, not everybody can overcome that.
The thing is, Analyst said it best. Checkout is one of those maps where Fire and Ice has always preferred. They've always loved Checkout. District, much the same, right? Those are the first 2 maps. So there is an opportunity for Fire and Ice to take a 2-0. And you're right. True. Will Oxygen be able to snap back? And that's the thing that you have to consider, whether it be with Oxygen, F&I, or any team. There are certain teams that they don't care. Like Noble, for example, is a great example. They can go down 2-0 in a series, and then they come back and they win map number 5 and take the series back, right? So they just don't get affected by that. Will Oxygen be an emotional team? Will Fire and Ice be an emotional team? One thing that you've always said, and I love that you've always said this, Blaze, is the fact that when a team has nothing to lose, they just play all out. And Fire and Ice is that team that right now has nothing to lose because they haven't won. So for Fire and Ice to get their first victory here would be a big statement and could get the ball rolling to maybe push Fire and Ice into another realm to make them a team to be reckoned with.
Yeah, 100%, right? And, why is that, right? Teams, with none to lose, they start playing better than they've ever played before. If I'm having to reflect on that, it's just a simple fact that a lot of squads coming into the leagues and coming into these tournaments, they will prepare a lot, right? They will get their preparation. Some won't, some will. But for the ones that do get that preparation in, when you prepare that much and you go into matches and you still get your butt kicked, okay, at that point, it's like, yo, what else can we do, right? It's just like nothing's going right. Like every L just hits that much more. So that's when I say, you ain't got nothing else to lose. Throw it out the window. Go out here, play some man-on-man and have fun. Because as you guys always hear me say, If you're losing in gears, play man on man, number one. Number two, shoot first. Okay? You identify everybody, shoot them first, play some gears, play off that damage, angle players out, take your 2v1s, continue to communicate. There is no perfect strategy and no perfect setup. When it comes down to these maps, you have a lot of great initials that's better than others. But when you think about the setups, they're not they're good on some of these heals, and there's some that's better than others. But you have to be free flowing and always communicating with your teammates, trying to find those perfect scenarios for your squad. That's what I'm trying to say here. No matter the game mode, you always have to be proactively trying to beat your opponent. You can't go in there with the game plan and say, all right, well, let's just go with the flow and get these kills, because not everything is going to happen the way you plan.
True. It's true. And I want to go back to when Fire and Ice played against E United and kind of the difference it's going to be in this series specifically. Okay, E United is a team that can obviously slay heavily. Powers, I mean, my lord, on that clock tower was just stupid. 19 kills. I had to go back and rewatch it. That was just incredible. I was literally about to break my green screen when he was making moves like that. But E United is also a methodical team, all right? They're a methodical team that can slow it down and pick apart your defensive setup, right? And pick apart really your push in general. And that worked very well against Fire and Ice. Fire and Ice is typically all aggression. They're not a team that really is setup heavy. They're not a team that, kind of plays methodical. They're kind of more like the Fire and Ice used to be, the Noble roster when they were Fire and Ice. Remember, they were just always go, go, go. They didn't apply the brakes at all. And that's not a bad thing. But the difference in this matchup is Oxygen is a team that, yes, they can play methodical, they can slow it down, but they don't like to. They have prided themselves since the new patch to be all-out aggression. And Fire and Ice is going to have to constantly battle against constant pushes, against Bronny, against Rocky, right? Scavzy and Abolics are going to be holding their ground, whether it be the spawns or the angles and just line of sight, which is going to be great on District. But this matchup is going to be a lot different. Fire and Ice is going to consistently and constantly have to just butt their heads against that of Oxygen and try and beat them. Stamina is going to become a real thing because you're going to be playing so hard. Both rosters are going to be going so hard at each other, and there's not going to be any downtime. So this is going to be a real issue, at least if the series continues.
Yeah, it is going to be an issue indeed here. Okay, when it comes down to both these teams, it's okay to have that aggression, off on the start of these rounds to try to get first blood, okay? Because someone has to get that first kill. And, you want a Savage there towards the front lines who is able to find ways to do that. But after that first kill comes through, that's when the composure needs to happen, right? That's when, you have to keep your space hit and not let your opponent even up the numbers. Because more times than not, at this level of gameplay, if someone loses a player on a team, they know that, okay, someone has to go make a play quickly to make this a 3v3. Because the more time we make, the harder this play is to be made here. Just because the fact is that as the health regen comes through, the damage that your dead teammate put through is null and void no more. You got a solid 4v3, so you have to be quick in making these moves. But also the squad that got the first blood, they know that you got to play into them in certain situations. So they go on their back foot, they play defense, and those fights get easier. The next thing you know, you got dominations, beautiful setups, and some of the fastest rounds of execution.
All right, well, let's get it going, Blaze. It's going to be Oxygen, Fire and Ice to start off the championship bracket for the Gears Fall Major. One thing to take note of, if Fire and Ice loses this initial, I might be a little bit concerned that this map might not go their way. One of the things Fire and Ice consistently and constantly does against all their competition, and it's really weird, but on District, Blaze, they always win the initial. They not the drop shot, but they always win the initial. They win the cinema fight. So if Oxygen wins it, I think F&I might be in some trouble.
Yeah, they could be in some trouble indeed. As we're here towards the mid-map, Rapidz fighting Scavzy. He loses the 1v1 for the power weapon. But now this is where F&I, they lost the guy, so they're trying to find a kill. Oxygen says, oh, well, this fight just got easier as they move in and they pick up 3. They got the power weapons, Taylor. They got the setup, and now you see the respawn coming towards the bottom portion of the map. I like how F&I is going to split this into a 2-2 at least. Have players in all lanes. This could work out for them.
Look at this guy. Bronny's ready to go. He's behind 2 of them. Takes down 1. Gets the pickup. Loses Abolics. No worries. It's now 1v2, and they'll get the easy cleanup onto Solar. Fire and Ice from the opposite end of Cinema. Now is going to be pushing through too strong, but Scavzy's got the drop, and it's going to connect on the Rapidz. And the other one is actually going to hold his ground for a little bit, but not long enough. Chavii will end up falling. And Oxygen, 2 distinct, well, not necessarily 2 distinct team fights. The first one for sure was a big team fight. The other one was a 2-2 split. But either way, Oxygen wins 2 engagements against F&I, who are now scrambling to figure out a plan of how they want to attack the next hill. You see them set up defensively. Oxygen, they've got to go for the break.
Yeah, they do here. Now, Oxygen, after getting time off that first hill, they got some space to work with here. They don't have to be too frantic, but Abolics, he identifies one to spawn. Toxiq can't do anything about it. They're going to leave him there and quickly get to their rotation, okay? That time that it's taken for him to go towards the respawn because he has to take his own life there, that's great time to use in a rotation while they have the 4v3 to get set up. Bronny gets a position. Beautiful fling fire here. Still, no more downs. The revives came in, but he had to stay composed there, Taylor. Waited for his teammates' help. And that's another beautiful fight here, won by Oxygen. They're going to be able to take Arcade and get set up.
That's the 3rd fight they've won, Blaze. Pretty much consecutively, back-to-back. So at this point, definitely getting worried about F&I. Still early, though. All right, let me not sound the alarms too soon. You know I like to get carried away. It's only 55-9, and we've seen things shift very, very quickly. Fire and Ice, or should be Toxiq. He'll end up falling. It was a great play shock. It's almost clinical to throw it over in that corner. Used to be able to contest up there, not anymore. Solar now trying to decide, do I want to push forward with Chavii? But he knows he's going into 3 players, make that 4 because you got another one on the outside. I do like this angle from Toxiq, and I also like the prioritization with Rapidz taking the drop shot. But is it going to be enough? Well, that's going to at least connect onto Rocky. You'll love to see it. Bronny should fall, and the last 30 seconds might go to F&I.
Yeah, they will. Toxiq knows that he needs to sprint towards the opposite side of the map. Player 5 is going to get the spawn. 8 and 6 is going to be there as well. They just saw Rocky come in. Rapidz says, yo, we only got 1 in here. Get to me now. Let's win this fight. No point of wasting any more time. But the entire 4-man roster of Oxygen is here. They didn't make it there to be able to get that 3v3 fight, and Oxygen already picking up 3 kills. 1 was able to be taken to the grave, but ultimately it's going to be a 3-man setup in the spawn for Oxygen. You know, Fire and Ice, they had the right play, Taylor. They just, you know, didn't start that fight as fast as they needed to.
All right, here we go. You see Fire and Ice. They are going through info, trying to figure out how do we want to attack this. Bronny and Rocky are going to have to hold their ground. They're about to have a lot of company in front of them. That's going to indicate why Scavzy is actually going to rotate over to make it a 3-man push. Abolics with the flank, though, is going to be great. That's at least going to keep in the back of the mind of Fire and Ice. Like, our push forward isn't going to be as safe as we once thought, but either way, they're trying to make a break for it. A couple of downs coming through for both rosters, and Fire and Ice, they have presence. Bronny now backed up, and look at that. Fire and Ice will actually get the break, and they're going to do it in a flawless fashion.
Yeah, great teamwork there from F&I, being able to come through that cinema side and get a player there through info to get into that fight. So they take that. 50 seconds left on the hill. We still should see about maybe 1 or 2 more team fights to contest for ATM. But with that kill from Rapidz, it's huge because it staggers the deaths. Now, Oxygen has a difficult decision to make. Do we wait for the next respawn? Do we just go play by ourselves? Do we start playing for next? And with Abolics finally getting back into the fight and 30 seconds left, Oxygen says, you know what? We tip our hat off to him. It's time to rotate, go to bandstand, because by the time they initiate Taylor, this 10 seconds of scrap time. You win a fight, you may give great spawns, better spawns on over Fire and Ice.
Exactly, right? And Control's one of those things where you got a lot to think about, and you have to think about it very quickly. Fire and Ice guys have woken up. I like this push from Solar. If he takes down Rocky there, gets rid of the drop shot, that would have been the perfect play. I think he made the perfect play. Unfortunately, he just got sideswiped by Bronny, who continues to dominate the middle fight. Chavii ends up falling. Shock might be going over towards Rapidz. He's going to be over in bandstand, but Rocky's ready to go. Drop shot sent flying. It's only going to get a hit marker. Bronny's going to lose his life, and Rapidz is still alive.
Oh boy, Rocky, as he's moving in, he's going to get taken out here, so Rapidz has to cut back, trying to get back on over here to get into this engagement with Scavzy, but he doesn't have to fight it just yet. He has some help coming behind him, Taylor, but he gets crossed out from top juice. Chavii's taken out as well. And with that being said, Oxygen, they should be able to move in, start collecting on some time. 54 seconds left in his heal. The spawn's coming in from the top side of the map for Fire and Ice. They're looking like they want to get in here and take this juice, but they're getting pinched from both sides. It's a player in juice and a player in info, and F&I can't do much there as they just funnel down the middle of the map and they just get absolutely suffocated.
Definitely do, and Oxygen, they're happy to get those points because they started off with a great lead off the rip plays, but they ended up falling behind, but not by much. They'll clear that deficit, especially now. Fire and Ice, though, they want to attack it one more time with these central hills. You can afford to do that because, you know, hey, if we've got good prioritization and we also have the other side of the map, we're going to be solid for pushing the remainder of the 20 seconds. Chavii can't get the finish on Abolics. Abolics will get back into the fight, maybe. It's definitely being a little bit awkward as he was getting lanced from afar, but hey, no worries at all. We're going to next, and it looks like it's going to be a headbutt fight once again, but Oxygen, they're tightly compacted. They're ready to go. 3 of them are just shoulder to shoulder, and that Lancer fire is going to definitely back up F&I, but F&I, they're also shoulder to shoulder, and they want to win this engagement. Winning this would be big, and that shock was placed absolutely perfectly, forcing Oxygen out.
Oh boy, and now Oxygen, they're going to have to start thinking about this next respawn, Taylor. As you see, F and I set up here at Pergola. A lot of time to be collected on them. With them having a lead now, we talked about earlier how, you know, if Oxygen finds himself down 0-1 this series, I'm curious to see how they're going to respond here. Hey, I felt like the start of this map was great for them. They won a lot of big fights, but the score is what the score is, okay? F and I finding ways to get this one done. And, you know, I want to say, what series was it yesterday? It was our first control map of the day. The squad got absolutely slayed. I think it was F&I versus E United. You know, where they got slayed, but they still won the map, though, right?
Sure.
In the end of the day.
Yeah, it was 302-17 against E United, and you're right. You know, E United may have had the more slaying power, but at the end of the day, for Fire and Ice, you know, the rotations, you got to agree, they're actually on point, you know, and it wasn't at the start, the first 2 hills, but that's the thing, you know, and that's why I said I didn't want to get too carried away off the rip, because we've seen scorelines shift back and forth, and for Fire and Ice, it's a great example. Despite them being down 60 or so points, they've easily closed that, and in fact, they have the lead by 30. So Fire and Ice looking solid as the match continues, the round continues. F&I starting to feel more and more comfortable. It's early for these gamers, all right? So maybe they're just now waking up. The caffeine's finally hitting them, but we have a battle for the next one for sure. Toxiq and Chavii trying to hold it down, and you got Oxygen on the outside looking in. Another shock in hand, though. That's at least going to keep Oxygen at bay for a little bit more.
All right, now Oxygen. That shock, as you see, F&I collecting on that time, Taylor. Oxygen needs to move in now. With that block, they will have a player towards mid-map as well. Looking like they're waiting for that next power weapon to come up. F&I stacked with 3. Oxygen, they're going to have to funnel down low to get here, but no more time to be wasted. They want to get back into this fight. Scavzy gets knocked down. Abolics finds a kill too as well. They're traded out. It's a 3v1 fight as the pinch comes down low. Player A being Rapidz, he didn't have the angle to the squad really needed to help them in that fight, but he will be able to get that drop shot. And with this weapon, Taylor, he can drop back and be able to retake this hill with the squad.
F&I's going to go in it one more time. Rocky ends up falling. That's great. Bronny dropped, but only for a short period of time. Rapidz now closing the gap. He's in there. Hasn't used a drop shot yet. Now he's got it in hand. Active is going to be out. He actually puts it away. He thinks F&I, at least with his team presence, is going to be enough. He'll go ahead and double back and challenge that of Rocky. Now, you put yourself in a dangerous situation, though, because if Rocky pops off, plus you got another guy rotating from mid, you can lose that drop shot without using it, and that's exactly what's going to happen, and that's why it's better to use it than to lose it.
Yeah, nah, they're going to be scratching their heads at that one, how they lost that drop shot, but you know, on the bright side, it's not an opponent's hands, and Fire Knights will have this rotation towards Cinema, but right now, you wish you had that drop shot to take 2 players here off that back line so you can make this fight a lot easier for you in the squad. Now, 4v3, the shock lands in the back, makes it a 4v2 at the front lines, and that's going to be a fight won by the Oxygen very, very quickly there. The flame came in from Toxiq, but he wasn't able to make he wasn't able to be a factor in the fight quick enough. So luckily for him, he stayed alive, and Fire Knights can get back into this engagement right away.
That's going to be a 4v3 too, because Scavzy just fell. So Fire Knights does have the man presence. So if they push in here, Oxygen's going to be at a bit of a disadvantage. They need to get an early blood here off the rip. And actually, no, they're not going to get anything, it seems, except for Bronny trying to make some moves. We've seen him be the X Factor multiple times. In fact, he tries to get back into fight. Scavzy did everything he could. Scavzy's actually doing it, but one more player stands, and that's going to be Toxiq, the hero for F&I. And it was Scavzy falling early on. Despite him coming back into the fight, if he stayed up there as a 4v4, maybe that fight goes a bit differently. But Oxygen, they're not deterred, they're not discouraged. They're going back in for round number 3, and they're doing it in style of 4-man push, 20 seconds. They want to fight for it.
Yeah, great kill for them. Now the drop shot battle will be won by Bronny, but he still has another player to take out if he wants this one. As Chavii backs down here, he has some help. Oxygen with the drop in hand. They're just going to try to get out, take this one towards Arcade, but will Abolics live? Just barely. Now the drop is in a safe position, but with Scavzy going down, Chavii drops as well. That drop should get picked up. Rocky has some great support fire coming in from the cinema side of the map. Now I do see Scavzy with the drop on his back pocket. With some downs happening in the middle, he's going to stay composed, wait for the rest of the squad to get in position to make a play on Arcade. Now it's going to be the perfect time for him to use his drop. He may be able to get a double. He doesn't go down.
Looks like he's chilling for the time being. This is exactly where I wanted him to go, though. He has perfect line of sight. He can either get Toxiq, he can get Solar, maybe wait for Chavii to pull up, but no, once to get Toxiq out of the way, that's a good connection, and now you just got to deal with Solar, and they're going to do so in style. Solar ends up falling. Good job. Chavii can't push forward anymore. He could have been justified if he had the rest of his teammates, but now there's just too much presence from Oxygen. They're down about 40 points, so this is a good hill for them to hold on to and take, and they can do so if Fire and Ice fails this next retake attempt. But it looks as if they already got Rocky down. So now, once again, Rapidz has that angle. Abolics feeling the pressure. Bronny definitely feeling it. He's forced to retreat, and F&I, they're going to take the advantage to push forward. And that is such a quick retake. And that is something that I've been truly impressed with from F&I on District. Maybe not at the beginning, Blaze, but if you've noticed, as the map has heated up, Fire and Ice, you know, they typically lose at least the first rotation or maybe the first team fight. But when they come back for the second fight, they usually dominate Oxygen, and they do it in a way of really flawlessness. I appreciate that. And again, going for the break once again, Abolics is already down, and there's the second one. So F&I, even though Oxygen is set up defensively, it looks like F&I is going to get the break.
Great L triggers here from Rapidz. My next question is that where's his teammates at? I feel like they're all slow getting to this fight, trying to find angles. I guess his teammate to the left really couldn't get the angle that he needed. Now they got 2 kills, but the rest of the squad, I don't see no power weapons in their hand, Taylor. I guess I see the drop shot and Solar. Okay, there we go. All right, so drop shot out, not going to be able to connect. Now, F&I, they need to get back into this fight. They will have a flank coming in from Info. They get that kill. 4v3. The revives are there inside the spawn. Here's the pinch from Rapidz. The flash won't connect, but the shock doesn't stop him long enough, doesn't slow him down to be able to stop him from getting into this fight. Scavzy, he'll get 2v1.
I am so happy to see Rapidz playing as well as he is. 18k damage, 16 kills to his name. You know, Rapidz is a guy that I have been constantly harping on from Fire and Ice to assert his dominance, to be confident whenever he plays, because I know mechanically he's a fantastic player, and he is truly flexing his muscles, at least in this first map here. I'd love to see it. If Rapidz is popping off, the rest of the roster is going to be just fine. It looks like F&I is about to get a very, very solid win. They're inching closer to 300. Enough points remains on this hill. Oxygen still on the outside looking in. I don't think they're going to get it. This most likely is going to end 300 to 214. The final push from Abolics can't get there, shut down at the 1-yard line. And it will be a Fire and Ice victory in map number 1 on District Control. 300 to 214. And I got to say, they look good doing it. Toxiq MVP, but again, the standout player to me was for sure Rapidz.
Yeah, man, you know, F&I, they wasn't playing around. Looking at their KDs this time, you know, they got a few players down low in those negatives. You know, I want to say, what, you had 2 at like 9 and 18, like with a 0.5 KDA, well, KD, they still came out on top, okay? About 100 points or so, all right? It just shows that the fights in which they do win, they get a lot of time off those hills, okay? They win those fights. They get set up. They may even get another kill or so to stagger out the respawns for their opponent, which is going to buy them some more time. Now, there's going to be some other hills in which they lose that initial, but then they make it scrappy, right? They may die a lot, but those chaotic fights is stopping their opponent from getting a lot of time. So, ultimately, Oxygen, they're slaying out, but the ultimate value that they're getting is not as much as Fire and Ice because the defensive setups isn't as strong as theirs. All right. So ultimately, at the end, hey, a dub is a dub.
A dub is a dub. A dub is a dub. But you brought up a great point. The fact is that slaying power wasn't there. We're moving into execution next. So that's going to be my concern. And you brought that up in the beginning, right? When we were talking about it before we even headed into district. Like that slaying power from Oxygen is going to be very scary on execution specifically. But I guess more on that in just a bit. As we watch the replays again, at the beginning, man, it was just a pretty a dominant start for Oxygen. I was very worried. They won, what, 2, 3, 4 team fights in a row. But Fire and Ice over time really started to heat up. And again, I give a lot of credit to Rapidz because he was holding his ground. But a couple of misplays, and that was one of them. Really disappointed that Rapidz did not use the drop shot, especially after he committed, did 2 active reloads, and was with the rest of his boys. And there was still 40 seconds on that hill that he pushed forward to. So mistakes like that, that's what keeps F&I from winning series, in my opinion. In my opinion.
Yeah, nah, you're absolutely right. And, like I was thinking when we came to the replays, one thing about Fire and Ice, right? Like we were saying it earlier, like they be having close series, but an L is an L, right? And then, we see them on certain maps, they get their butt kicked, but a W is a W, okay?
Yeah.
Like the way that they lose and win, it's just, all right, it shouldn't have happened, or, it could have went the other way, but we just take it for what we get here with F&I, all right? One thing is that we just want to see a little bit more consistency from them. And I'll tell you one thing that's been consistent. They won a lot of district controls.
They have. I mean, again, Rib said it best. It's their bread and butter. It really is. And that's one thing that's good. Certain teams, they just have that certain maps that clicks. And District is one of those maps that click. And Checkout is another map that clicks. But going back to the point I brought up a little bit earlier, Blaze, Oxygen was outslaying Fire and Ice. So now going into execution, I think that slaying power is definitely going to hurt them. And one thing too, Bronny is a guy that likes to play up for nades and then get on the flank. If he goes unpunished, he can truly wreak havoc on your roster or on the enemy roster. And at this point in time for Fire and Ice, I have yet to see them send anybody confidently to play the 1v spot for nades. So Bronny might have free reign throughout all of the rounds in Checkout to go for nades again on the flank.
Yeah, he just might, right? And so depending on how this game plays out, we can go back and look at the Pioneers match yesterday against Oxygen and kind of compare the two, because if you ask me, I feel like for multiple rounds, they had a good strategy to worry about him, okay? Taking one of those guys who's watching a platform, giving some cross towards that 1v1 lane, and just trying to just make things hard for Bronny. We also saw multiple times Bronny got nades, but could have hit a nade, okay? Sure. It was multiple nades tossed that just wasn't connected with. They were rushed, all right? So, and once that happens, he's a sitting duck in that position. You can just really angle him out there towards nades. If he's there, he becomes a target. So, a little high risk, high reward. So we'll see how consistent he's going to be playing in his position. And I'm also curious when it comes down to Fire and Ice, how much are they going to choose to worry about him, right? Because he can get those nades, but as we know, the four-man strategy, that overload towards Checkout is super strong. Right. Just because the fact is that as soon as you get first blood and get numbers, you can dodge 2 nades with ease.
Sure. Yeah, you definitely can. And Bronny then at that flank, he's by himself and he's in a 1vx situation. The chance of him clutching, well, probably slim, because obviously if you win the Checkout, you obviously win the snipe as well. Typically, at least you would think so, and maybe the ensign. So Bronny would be going against a lot. I agree with that. The overload might work out, and we have seen Fire and Ice do that against certain rosters. They don't really worry too much about the solo player up top. They're more so concerned with the 4-man push on Checkout, because that's where they feel most comfortable. But if Oxygen doesn't send Bronny up top and he gets to utilize his slaying power and Checkout stands, well, that's a different story. Fire and Ice again was getting outslayed on District. If it does go to a 4v4 straight up fight and F&I refuses to deviate from their normal strategy of just a 4-man push, well, Oxygen might get a clean win.
Well, Oxygen, they could, they definitely could get a clean win if they deviate from it, but we'll see how they come out, because one thing is that I want to pay attention to is those secondaries, okay? With Checkout, there's very few strategies in which you're going to see these squads run, okay? We'll see a 4-man overload towards the Checkout. We'll see a 3-1 But also within that 3-1, you have a few different sub-strategies. You can focus on sniper. You can focus on incendiary grenades. You can focus on just angling out the guy in that 1v1 position or putting your focus towards back lane. So there's a few different changes in what you see there that happen really fast at the start of the round that sometimes we don't identify as much as we probably should have, just because of that first blood that comes through. After that, you really see how teams are starting to react from a defensive and an offensive standpoint. Now, as we about to head into this map number 2, Taylor, Oxygen needs to win this, okay? Let's just throw it out there, chat. Oxygen needs to come out on top. They need to win this. If they don't, I'm scared for them.
Ooh, they're going to be in trouble, man. They're going to be in trouble for sure being down 2-0. Like, nah, it's hard, man. Again, there are certain teams, brother, that can be down 2-0 Blaze and then come back. I don't know if Oxygen's one of those rosters, and that's no dig at them. I just haven't seen them do it often, so that's my biggest thing. You know, I gotta see it. But here we are, 4-man push for FNI, and who goes up top? Well, it's going to be Bronny. Now, FNI needs to utilize their numbers effectively and get first blood early on, but they don't. But Rapidz does get the incense, and Solar gets the sniper, so FNI's still in a good spot.
Bronny got those nades. Hey, boy, you got to get to the checkout. What are you doing standing up there switching? He's switching weapons in the open like that. And they got it down the left. Bronny went down with nades. What's going on?
Brother, it's chaos. It's chaos at this point. So Bronny's dead. And see, that's the thing about Bronny is sometimes he can be inconsistent. When he's on point, he is the dangerous man on the battlefield. But when he starts making mistakes like that, I get really worried because he starts to fall apart. But wait, now Scavzy's last alive. It was looking like, hey, I saw the kill feed too, Blaze. I'm like, wait a second. But I couldn't stop it, man. Once I got that train rolling, you know, I just had to finish it.
Yeah, I know. And I was just looking at it, and I'm seeing, Oxygen starting to pull away with a few kills here. Just where I thought FNI got blessed just because they were all trapped towards the back of checkout. They're trading snipers in the open, and Bronny got 2 nades, and nobody dies. So that's the part that tripped me out. But in the end, hey, great first round for FNI. Abolics is going to take this platform, but he's going to go in towards the secondary, gets a decent shot in, but has to back up, goes towards the back lane, connects with the back A. He'll be able to find his first kill, but on the back end, it's Rapidz. He'll be able to flank through, can't get the kill in which he needs. It is all going to be up to Solar.
Nah, not gonna happen. Solar ends up falling. Abolics got him. Hey, good fight though, and a good answer back for Oxygen. Great job, and maybe we'll start seeing them heat up. Either way, it's been a big battle, and that's the thing that coming into this series, some people were saying, Oxygen, they're the heavy favorite. FNI is going to get destroyed, and I disagree with that. I think it's going to be a lot closer than people are thinking it would be. Harbor, I'm not so certain, to be honest. Definitely going to benefit Oxygen there, which makes this map that much more important because Oxygen could take a 2-1 lead, and they need that because they lost the first control, so who knows if they'll lose the other one. Now, Bronny back with his teammates, 4v4 on checkout stands, and Toxiq, he's not shy about pushing, but he maybe should have been because he's been first-blooded, and Rapidz falls shortly after. And now Chavii, he's last alive, and he's not going anywhere.
Yeah, great aggression there from Oxygen. They wasted no time playing up there towards that inner secondary, and Abolics has been aggressive there these last 2 rounds, okay? Just forcing players to have to move around, move out into the open of the crosshairs of those lancers towards the back, and the damage is being output here by Oxygen. So great 2 rounds for them. Headed here towards the next, and we're gonna get some 1v1 players at nade this round. I don't think we will. It's gonna be an overload towards the checkout side. Bronny's playing the back line. His flash won't connect. Toxiq gets out with incinerators for free. He's gonna block off that exit there towards the secondary, but he doesn't get any more kills after that. And that's where he's gonna wish he had that 1 nade back real soon. Yeah, it's right there on the top.
I wonder how many people said that, man. I wish I could take that back. I wish I could take that snipe shot back, that instant back, that nade back, man. Because sometimes you throw it out and you're thinking, man, this is going to connect. I'm about to be the hero. And then it just does nothing. You know what I'm saying?
Does nothing at all.
Does nothing at all.
Yeah, I got a lot of nades like that where I'm just like, I wish it was an inch to the right. I wish I just had one more toss. But, at the end of the day, I say if you can get to this position right here where the game slowed down and you still got those 2 nades,
right?
Hey, you can really set something up. Because at the end of the day, Rocky and Abolics, they're still at the secondary. That nade comes, it actually hits. Now they're going to be able to get that sniper towards the back. The player on the inside will survive. Everyone's weak, but a quick snipe shot from Abolics. He's going to find a second one too as well.
Yeah, if he can. This is going to be really the straw that broke the camel's back, in my opinion, because F&I, they're feeling confident. Oh, good body shot. Abolics. He's pushing. Oh, no. Oh, no. Who got him? Solar got him despite being bodied. And it is going to be F&I taking that round to tie things up 2-2 after round 4. Definitely an exciting one for sure, and also a different one because I don't know if you caught it, but Chavii actually went for nades up top. You very rarely see him do that.
Yeah, you very, very rarely see him do it, indeed. Now, look, that was a good body shot for him. He just could not get that next kill there coming off the side, that next shot that he needed. Great effort there. But in the end, just good composure from Fire and Ice. That last incendiary grenade that they kept paid dividends for him. Now with a quick snipe pickup, you're gonna see the drop back. Quick revive, the nades go into the secondary, and it just misses a triple kill. But the regular kills will happen there at nades, in the inside. There's the double, there's the triple nade kill. Fire and Ice, they go up around.
Up around, and that's good for them. Hey, we know how good they are when it comes to checkout, but 3-2, you can't get too comfortable there. Rocky sitting at 0 kills, but he does have the assist and the damage, so he's still putting in that work. And I only point that out because I don't want chat seeing that and then being like, man, Rocky. Now Rocky's still doing his part. Okay, it's a very close game, and I'm loving what I'm seeing so far. Chavii not too bad either with his 3 kills and 4 assists, but no first blood. So obviously it's Toxiq who's putting in the work early on, taking priority on the incense. Dropped. He needs to get picked back up, and he does. An opportunity for F&I to win this round now just became possible.
All right, so this we talked about having 2 nades when you're in this position, relaxing, right? He finally has those 2 incendiaries. He also has 2 in his secondary. But Oxygen's not going to waste no time. That nade goes short. That secondary nade, actually the first nade connects. The secondary nade puts out a good amount of damage. That's 2 kills confirmed. And F&I looking good here to kick off the championship bracket this Saturday. That's a 2-round lead for him in map 2, Taylor. Just 2 rounds away from going up 2-0 in this series.
Yes, sir. 2 rounds away from being up 2-0. Who's got 3 first bloods? I know somebody does on the F&I roster. Definitely performing well. That's going to be, yeah, like I said, Toxiq. And the Rapidz isn't far behind, mind you. And look at those revives from Rapidz, okay? Revives are currency when it comes to, yeah, absolutely, when it comes to execution. So Rapidz is that guy? Yeah, hey, he's doing what he needs to do as a support player. Toxiq, once again, getting the instance. Oxygen doing everything they possibly can to drop him, but they simply can't. So now, almost identical from the last round to this round. Abolics, he's standing up though, and nobody from F&I is going for the finish. There it is.
They got it now, and they still got 1 nade to use as well. Towards the back lane, Toxiq, his nades, they some hit, some come up short, but that last one is real deep there. But that snipe shot is real precise. The second one connects on the body. There's the pistol shots. Oxygen trapped. I think they were actually just talking about the next round right there in that position because they kind of knew. They said, man, there ain't much we can do here. Flames to our left, snipes in the back, pistols to the right. They just got angled out.
All right, there it is, 5-2. Okay, I thought this would be a lot closer. It just hasn't been. So, as we go into the potential final round, Blaze, Oxygen, what's going wrong?
Yeah, when it comes down to Oxygen, they're not getting anything initial off this start. They're not contesting for incendiary grenades. They're not getting frag grenades at this point as well. Like, look at this, Chavii with 2 nades. Now, Oxygen, they've been playing for that rush towards the back lane a lot. They will be able to get the snipe this time around. When it comes down to incendiaries, I think they will still be on the platform. Yes, they will. I don't see them in no one's hands. Yeah, so Bronny gets them now. Ooh, snipe. Ooh, just misses that one, but Abolics knew that player's rotation. Now, Fire and Ice, they still got 1 frag in the hands of Chavii. It's going to be a 4v4. But if you ask me, I think Oxygen has all the advantages. Now, when it comes down towards this neutral hill, is it going to be on the electronic side, platform? Oh, if it's the electronic side, Fire and Ice, man, they got the better positioning.
Yeah, take that with a grain of salt. I think it is only because when I pointed out First Bloods, it was the previous round, and I believe it was the Electronics hill, or Jimmy, it was the snipe. That's where the overtime hill was, so it should go back up to Electronics, which, you're right, F&I probably has the advantage, but that makes Abolics' job that much more important, getting a pick. And I don't know if I'm a fan of where Chavii's at. He's kind of pinned himself in the corner and opened himself up to being isolated. If Oxygen Wolfpack's into him, despite the Lancer fire, they should still be able to take him down. And Rapidz,
he got a nade though. He got a nade.
Okay, so they're gonna focus
Rapidz.
Yeah,
Rapidz goes, but look at the crosses, right? they got long routes to get to him. So the crosses come through. Bronny hits the incendiary. That's going to be a 3v2 on the map. Chavii still has one frag to work with. And when it comes down to it, he just needs to place this nade right. He makes this a 2v2. I think his team's going to be in a great spot. 15 seconds left on the clock. Abolics is going to be there towards the right. They're stacked up. Oh, he has new nades too as well. They came off the respawn, and now this isn't looking too good for F&I. Double nades dodged. One player goes down. There's the frag from Chavii. Comes up a bit short. Didn't go as deep as he needed it to. And Oxygen would get another round on the board.
Yeah, good job from Oxygen. They had a lot of adversity to get through. Obviously, not having the overtime hill on their side. They had to go all the way across map, but they did good with it. And, I like the push onto Rapidz. That was the best bet because you're right. Chavii had that nade. You make that push. Maybe you lose a teammate. It's not going to be the healthiest of situations. Plus, you're going to be getting lancered. So attacking that right side was the smartest play. And, good job for Chavii staying alive as long as he did. He had an instant, he had a nade come his way, but he ultimately held his ground. So Oxygen, is this the comeback they needed? Well, maybe so. They stay alive. That's the important part. So for Fire and Ice, here we are, 4-man push to the 4-man push of Oxygen. This time around, though, Blaze, Toxiq is not as aggressive on the instance, right? They just want to go down low, fight for the snipe.
Yeah, he's not this round, but Solaire with the headshot. The quick revive. Can he get out? Not in time. It's Oxygen with the pinch. Bronny with a big double kill off the flank. Great plays by them. And when Oxygen, they saw the snipe pickup coming from Fire and Ice, and they said, you know what? You guys can get it, but we're not going to let you get out for free. They got their kills. They kept the pressure on them. They didn't give Solar no breathing room. That was a nice headshot that he got on a quick pick, but outside of that, he had no other room to work with that weapon.
All right, so Oxygen is slowly but surely coming back. And Fire and Ice, I really hope this isn't the curse. They get so close to victory, and then they end up losing it. Back to the bread and butter strat for F&I. Toxiq going to the platform, getting those instants. Immediately throws one out, but misses the first, connects on the second. That's first blood.
Now, Rocky, he is so weak in his position. The nades are still up, too. They're going to get picked.
Good to go.
Yeah, Toxiq says, don't worry, guys. Just hold on. Don't die. I'm coming with the frags, get a mark. He's going to line it up with the secondary. But Oxygen knows that they need to rush. They can't wait for the nades to come. The down is there. The kills come through. 3v2. The nade won't connect. Rocky still has a snipe. He has to go huge. Can't hit it, but he cuts back. Still a 2v3 for Oxygen, and it's winnable, Taylor, all right?
It is.
5 shots left in this scope. The nades, nothing really came through with them. And this is where F&I was playing a little bit too scared if you ask me. That's a big body shot. The flank on the right. The shot missed. Rocky takes over. Double down. 1v1.
Scavzy! Oh, 1v2 now. Couldn't get the finish. That's okay, though. Big trade. Scavzy has an opportunity here. Finds an opportunity to get in on a solo onto Rapidz. Rapidz fall down. Rapidz down. But Solar clutches up, and that's going to be the end of Oxygen and their run when it comes to checkout. And that's going to be a 2-0 lead for Fire and Ice to start off the day. Rib said, hey, I'm predicting a 1-to-1 map count heading into map 3. He wasn't wrong for saying that. But Fire and Ice, they're playing with a purpose. Solar, 11 kills to his name. 4 first bloods coming out from Toxiq. Solar had 2. Rapidz had 3. The revives across the board, incredible. Fire and Ice leads 2-0 in the series, forcing Oxygen to come back. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, this great series will continue. All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Gears Fall Major. Oxygen and F&I have been battling tooth and nail, but it's all Fire and Ice as they lead 2-0, winning District 300 to 214 and Checkout 6-4. That sledding power seems it wasn't a worry at all on Checkout, Blaze.
Yeah, no, it wasn't a worry whatsoever, okay? Hell, Fire and Ice, once they got those first bloods, they were able to get those kills, and it didn't matter the round. Hell, they went to him. They went at him with them. Can't speak. They went with them toe to toe every single round there. And so now, as we head here into map number 3, you guys, okay, we're early on to kick off the championship bracket here on Saturday. And Oxygen coming to this series, they probably felt like, yo, this is gonna be the one that we're gonna win. We're gonna get off to a good start today. But then F&I woke up on a different end and said, you know what, guys, we're not losing no more. Okay, like, this is it. Like, we've lost a lot. We've learned a lot, right? Like, it is not the time to take any more L's We just gotta go out here and give it everything in which we got. And over these first 2 maps, they've had way more to give than us.
Yeah, true. And you know what? You said it best, man. And I like how you said it. It's very simple. Fire and Ice says, we're just tired of losing,
That's all you can say.
Yeah.
You're just tired of losing at this point, right? There's nothing else more to be said about it. We critiqued this Fire and Ice team in and out throughout the entirety of the Pro League. And so, we've seen them have some good matches. And like I said on District when we ended it, for this team, hey, just, an L is an L no matter how pretty you made it look. And a W is a W no matter how ugly you look, okay? You just got to get the job done no matter how you can. And I said it when we saw them play against E United yesterday, this team won maps with heart, okay? They won maps just because they love Gears of War and they don't want to lose. Even though it's not the cleanest victories, they find a way to win. And that's impressive enough. And any professional player knows that that's probably one of the most important traits that you need to have. Just find a way to get a kill. Find a way to win.
Sometimes you do. That's it. I mean, honestly, it's as simple as that. It really is at times, all right? It's as simple as, hey, let's just win and hit your shots, okay? And if everybody could do that, everybody would be a champion. So maybe it's not that simple, but at the end of the day, we're talking about the best in the world when it comes to Gears, okay? So sometimes it does come down to that simplistic viewpoint. We're going into Harbor, Escalation, map number 3. Now, this is where things get interesting for Fire and Ice. I don't view them as the favorite on this map. They played it twice during Pro League. Granted, I believe once was against United and the other one was against Rise. So I mean, you take your pick. They're great on Harbor, all right? So they lost, I think 1-5 against Rise and 2-5 against United. But that's still, though, they played it twice. They have some experience, but I don't necessarily see them as a strong Escalation team in general, Blaze. So that's where I tip my hat over to Oxygen.
Yeah, and rightfully so, right? Oxygen, they're a really good Escalation team. We've seen this squad before, I want to say even during when we just had our last era of just Escalation, this, a lot of these players was doing really well there, okay? That was when they were starting to excel and make a name for themselves. So Oxygen just as a team, because Escalation, with the squad that has the most teamwork, I feel like it's going to come out more times than not. So that's going to be me leaning over towards Oxygen on this map. But if they lose this one too, man, I don't even know what conversation do we have, okay? Because, we got to talk about really that honestly, it just needs to be fireworks popping off, bottles popping as well. And we need to give a big celebration to Fire and Ice for getting that first W when it mattered the most during championship bracket.
That's true. And not to mention now, think about who they got next, though. Okay, they got Rise next. So whether it's Oxygen or Fire and Ice, you got to play against the #1 team in Pro League and a team that went undefeated yesterday. So not going to be easy. But it starts here. And like we've been saying, for Fire and Ice, maybe it just takes a W to finally get the ball rolling for them to say, you know what? We can win. And I think they can win. That's been the biggest narrative. I think they can
Imagine
win.
They get that first win. They just never stop winning from that point on. And they win the major.
And then I'm going to be screaming in Chavii, I trust. All right. I've been pumping them up this whole time. Okay. Big dyslexic, hey, whatever. But hey, who knows? This is the thing. Who knows? Major weekend, Gears of War. Sometimes we don't know everything. The players, they hold destiny in their hands. So for Fire and Ice, they're looking strong. They really are. But this is where I think Oxygen starts to strike back. And that happens often, Blaze. Escalation is the turning point typically in our series where, the team that's been falling behind, now the momentum shifts their way because they typically get a dominant win on Escalation, right? So this is, at least in my opinion, even though Oxygen is the favorite here, Fire and Ice, they still need to put up a good fight. And who knows? They could win it. Look, I don't know. They can absolutely win it. So let me
Taylor,
put that out
I'll say it to you like this, okay? Throughout 5 maps yesterday, when it was Fire and Ice versus E United, those squads were evenly matched.
It's true.
Okay. Throughout 4 maps, throughout 4 maps, they were evenly matched. Okay. Fire and Ice and E United. Map number 5, it was all EU. Okay. They said, all right, let's put this to rest. Okay. And they stomped them out. So far, it's been all F&I, and Oxygen ain't touching them. Okay, F&I is the better team right now. Championship bracket. Oxygen has just became the underdogs in this series. Now we have to ask ourselves, how is Fire and Ice going to be able to handle that pressure of being once again 1 map away from closing out a series and getting your first win? All right. Now, if Fire and Ice loses 3 maps in a row, they just don't want it. They don't want it.
That's a fact. That is a fact.
They've been to plenty of game 5s. They have been in plenty of series where they are up 2-1, and they don't win it.
That's true.
So that's just it. They don't want it, and they just beat themselves, and that'd be the ultimate story for them towards the end of this at the end of the season. That hey, they beat themselves every single time. Great team, full of great players, but they just can't win.
The reality is sinking in that I just put, I think, 8,700 channel points on Oxygen. And yeah, that just hit me. That just hit me really hard, right in the gut. So
you made a valid point because like I look at the chat and I just see nothing but like the blues next to people's name,
all
right? Yeah, and a lot of people just didn't vote for the day. People says, you know what, it's the first game of the day. We ain't gonna vote, or they just got to the stream and they missed it. So luckily for y'all, because this was not a series to just even get a few more channel points. All right, this was not.
Yeah, it was 73% Oxygen, 27% F&I, and F&I said, "You guys are fools, man." Hey, and I'm one of them, all right, because I didn't believe in them, but they're looking good. But hey, serious note, back on track. Escalation Harbor, map number 3. F&I leads 2-0, and this is a map where I definitely put Oxygen as the favorites, but are they rattled from that 2-0 deficit? They very well could be, right? So F&I already a different break. What is going on? Oxygen just absolutely backs up Fire and Ice. They said, we got a lot of free ground. We got a lot of map real estate. Let's push forward. But on the opposite end, Rapidz will lose his fight, or should be Chavii's going to lose his 1v1 fight, and then Oxygen's going to go ahead and overextend for the home-to-home. So a bit of domination looking to come through unless Rapidz can do something.
Yeah, unless he can get something done over here, but if not, it is going to be Oxygen. Oh, that's a great spread. But no one else was able to get there to be able to clean this one up. Oxygen, even after F&I was getting aggressive to go towards the home hill of C, Oxygen was able to win that fight and close out the round officially now. And that's a great start for them. And that's how they had to come out here swinging, Taylor. The way those last 2 maps were lost, they need to strike first now.
Definitely do. That was such a weird round. Fire and Ice, they had the... So actually, let me back up. Let me ask you, because Fire and Ice did the right thing. They went up top to Stern because they didn't feel as confident in that winch fight down low. But should they have pushed as hard as they did down the ramp straight into what seemed to be the trap of Oxygen?
You know, and that's one of those fights you gotta... You know, sometimes you do have to commit to it, right? But if that player who's guarding that ramp gets a good pre-fire on you and holds you back, at that point, you're just waiting for the pinch to come through, okay? Even so, with Oxygen putting a lot of pressure on Winch, they could look down and cross those players out as well. It just didn't go as well as they had it designed in their head, right? Goes back to the previous point on the last map, that you just got to be adaptable, right? Play in the moment. And we see Oxygen running a similar strategy, but this time they get their right hands and they're able to get the angles. And this forces Fire and Ice towards the inside. Bronny's by himself, but F&I will get themselves an exit. Now, but can they use it? Fire and Ice is going to have to drop back and clear out these players on their side of the map, Taylor, because Rocky's still over here just being annoying, buying his teammates time to come off the respawn and get back up top towards maybe Spurn or Winch. But as he's distracting these players in their spawn, they can't go forward, right? And so now players 1 and 3, they're off the re, and now they're about to get some positioning. So Rocky did his job. Even though his squad won't have the 2-to-1 hill setup, they still got the lead right now.
You know, Fire and Ice is different today, not because, you know, they're winning and they're looking, you know, much better than they have looked in the past, but they're also changing up the way that they play. They're changing up their DNA. Rapidz has always been the guy to play the 1v spots on every single map. This time around it's Chavii. Have you noticed that, Blaze? Chavii is the guy who's playing the 1v spots. So Rapid's value might be more when he's integrated with the team fight than if he's isolated by himself. And you know what? Certain players have been that way. We've seen that even with, you know, Rise in the past, right? Or even Pittsburgh Knights. So, hey, this adjustment might be making all the difference and could be giving F&I the edge they finally needed to be successful. But it looks like Oxygen, they're starting to come back, and Abolics is going off. He picks up one, tries to get Toxiq, but now he has to get away because he's getting Lancer from Solar. But he might dip back because his teammates were helping him out. But no, it looks like F&I is going to go ahead and recover. But now the pressure's all on Chavii.
Oh boy. And I agree with you, Taylor, that Chavii in that 1v1 position, you know, when it comes down to it, I like him there. I like more aggressive playing those 1v1 spots because squads are starting to realize that when a team fight doesn't go, you know, their way, you need a player with confidence to be able to find a kill, you know, find map control. And not everyone has the movement and the skill set and the confidence to do that, but Chavii doesn't lack that. Now, Oxygen, they will be able to work together to get a lot of big kills down there towards the B hill. That'll give them a B-A setup. Got to get them double the points. With that being said, Oxygen can slow down, pull out their Lancers, and let Fire and Ice play into their hands. Now, F&I, they got a little bit of wiggle room to work with to be able to use this time to put themselves in position. Rocky looking to flank here towards the middle, but was it a good flank? Yeah, it was in the end. Even with 3 players being down low. Whoa! Oh, that's 3! That's 3 down!
That is 3, and B is going to be broken. And for player 8, Chavii, he just got to hold back Abolics. Cog team will win, though.
He doesn't get it.
Oh, no, Swarm wins it. Swarm wins it. Abolics got to die here.
Wait.
Abolics has to die, and he does. And it's going to be F9 taking the round number 2 to tie things up. And it was all because that big bad boy of Toxiq popping off on the neutral fight.
Nah, bro, no. We got to double back one time.
It was Toxiq.
I want to say it was Solar that got the double down, and Toxiq came in and he got the final one. But it was 3 there first.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Yeah. So it was a team effort. It was a team effort. But Solar
Either way, it was impressive as hell.
Yeah, it was impressive, right? But Toxiq, I don't think Toxiq goes in there and get the 1v3. I just wanted to make sure Solar got his credit in that one because
give him his love.
Yeah. He kicked off that play right there, but that's a demoralizing round for Oxygen and a confidence builder for Fire and Ice. We're pretty much even once again. Now, as we head here towards the Stern fight, it is going to be Fire and Ice once again running that 3-man strategy down low. But Bronny's holding off. Their flashes are good. They're not giving this up without a fight. They says, hey, you're going to have to play the inside because we're protecting the outside. There's the flank from Abolics. And Oxygen's like, yo, this strat will not work against us. But then here on the flip end, Fire and Ice says, yo, we can out-revive your damage. Wolfpack, okay? You didn't learn nothing this season?
Man, F&I is playing with a vengeance, and now I got to really question, is Oxygen really the favorite on Harbor? Maybe not. Chavii looking to make some moves, so readjust, and with his positioning, obviously he can back up, but it kind of says to me that if Fire and Ice wins this top fight, which is going to be very difficult with the Wolfpack of Oxygen, but Chavii can easily overextend. He's going to be at a 1v. Either way, the big fight is up here on top, because if it's lost, F&I can go ahead and overextend, and that is a bit of a worrisome spot to be in, because now if Oxygen wins this fight convincingly in a 3v3, they're most likely going to win a domination.
Oxygen. They have a 3v2. It's only 2 players on the map alive. Oxygen knows this, but they also know that by the time they get to the A hill, they spawn up, they're not going to be in good positions. They're going to back up a little bit more. They'll send player 3 down low to watch that middle lane, play themselves more of a 2-2 strategy. With Rocky seeing 2 players on his screen right now, he let his team know that, hey, you guys got the 2 down low. We got 1 in front of us. They're looking for the 3rd, but they're going to say, hey, he's under you, Rocky. They get the mark on him, so now all 3 of these players can focus on this side of the map. That's a 3v3 fight, but, he says, hold up, Chavii's going to be on our hit list. Let's go for him. You guys can hold that off for a retro. It could be a great design play for Oxygen to get a trip cap domination and win the round, but the retro cannot hold the line off down low fast enough. And so that's going to put the B hill back in favor of Fire and Ice for now. But on the flip end, they're going to decap their opponent's home hill. So I love the plays from both these squads, but still no one able to find a footing here towards the later portion of this game. I think even with Fire and Ice having his home hill, Taylor, it's going to flip momentarily. And then we're going to have to see how the dust settles, because if Solar goes down, at this point, it's a 4v3 on the map that Oxygen has to work with now.
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure on Rapidz, because Rapidz is going to get pressured, I assume, by Rocky. No, actually, Oxygen wants to send everyone over towards the neutral. That's a fair play. You need 2 to win it, and Oxygen understands the spot they're in, but that's a big down. But Abolics is back in the fight. Rocky, with his overhang position, is beautiful, because Fire and Ice can't feel comfortable in any engagement they get into, and that should wrap it up with 4 down. Yes, sir, it's going to be Oxygen taking this round, but another close one that wasn't guaranteed until the very end.
Yeah, to the very end, right? That's how sweaty this map is so far. That's how close it's been between these 2 teams. And, F&I, looking at the battles in which they won there towards the back end of that round, they had just got that lead change. They just needed to really have a player on winch. If they had a player on winch and was able to get set up there, I think they can win that last fight. They can take the round, but just a few power positions that were open on the map. Now, as we head here into the next round, Taylor, we'll see if we can get tied up again.
Let's see. Last round of the first half before we switch that neutral up top. Oxygen's played this initial differently almost every single time. This time they're going to take the top side. Fair enough, F&I. They're going to go ahead and kind of reassess, see what Oxygen's going to be about. I like that Chavii's not shy, though. Scavzy didn't even try to go for the neutral, but either way, it might not matter because the first on the solar is going to be big. Oxygen, they've got the man advantage on the map, but they don't really utilize it too well, do they? They send 2 players over to B, and it's still going to be a 2-2 fight, but Abolics has that cross, and that's going to be everything.
Yeah, no, that cross is going to be everything there. As you're going to see, he's going to force him out for now, but the B hill never did get captured, right? Abolics is going to cut here down towards the middle. I don't know if anyone saw him just yet. Actually, I think Chavii did get the mark for his squad, so he backs out. Rapidz is going to shift down here towards the middle. Now, looking at this from Oxygen's standpoint, they're going to have to use their numbers, just to cap B, get 1 player in. They already have 1 at the winch. They'll be good to get this hill capped and put themselves in a defensive spot. But as you see, Bronny backing down. Great shot. Trying to stay in cover. His teammates will find a second. Now they find a third. Great efforts there from Oxygen.
Nice.
And they get the 4th up top. That's going to be them working for that trip cap domination that they should get with ease.
Yes, sir. Definitely should get it with ease. It's up to Rapidz and Chavii, but they're already getting gunned down as soon as they step foot out of their spawn. There it is. First half wrapped up, and it's going to end in a weight of 3-1 with Oxygen being the heavy favorite. 2 more rounds away from victory. An opportunity to stay alive and maybe flip their luck when it comes to this series. All you got to do, map by map basis, stay alive. That's the important thing to do here. Now, the question is, Blaze, does F&I place a power weapon? This would be the moment to do it.
I agree with you. This will be the moment to do it. Shake things up, especially while you got the shot grenades on the map already. You have utility to work with on this side of the map. You may not have that Toxiq, and I don't know if I like to play down low, just because the fact is that, that Toxiq can have an influence on that fight just a bit. Actually, I don't know if it can stop the quick pick if you do go for it on the flipping. If you slow it down, you still got that shot grenade to work with. In the end, I think Fire and Ice noticed how much this map has been spreading towards the lower portion of the map. And also with those home hills there, that drop shot could, pay dividends in a score if you can get that in the late game and you need just a 2-1 hill setup. Great initial down. Another down is there. There's the cleanup, but did Abolics almost lose his own life? Rocky gets there. Scavzy's going to be there to group up as well. Make sure he gets out okay, but the back A doesn't come through. Drop shot picked up for Oxygen, Taylor. And they're looking real good with 2 hills to their name as they make a play for the home hill.
Yeah, looking great indeed. Could be a 4-1 very shortly. There's only few and far between members when it comes to F&I, and Bronny's already got Chavii dead to rights. On the opposite end, though, we do see a domination starting to come through. Abolics is going to go ahead and send Rapidz to the respawn screen, and honestly, the most dominant round we've seen yet. The rest of the round's been fairly competitive, but we haven't seen a sub 1 minute round yet. But yet there it was, 4-1 Oxygen, 1 round away from at least making this series a little bit more doable for them.
I will say that this pretty much has just been a 5-0 at this point. Like F&I had that 1 clutch round in round number 2, which is great, and then it was a close round 3. But for outside of that, it's pretty much been it's been Oxygen here. You see that 13k damage for Scavzy, boy, +4, 17 assists. That's a beautiful stat line, throughout 5 rounds there. All right, just under averaging 3k a round, and you guys can do the math at home. To get a full kill, that'd be 600 points or 599. It's one of those for a full kill.
Chavii up top. Who's opposite of him? That's going to be Bronny. So Chavii and Bronny, honestly, a poetic battle, and Chavii will win that fight. Honestly, first time we've seen him win that, and I'm curious, because he was up top, did Rapidz go back to the 1v spot, and Chavii's now going back to the team fight? Well, either way, the end result is Oxygen still getting the drop shot, and Chavii is forced to run away, taking some damage. He'll be all right for the time being. Fire and Ice with the 2-1 hill advantage. It's all about holding on.
Yeah, it's all about holding on as long as you can here. Woo, drop shot will connect there on Chavii. Oxygen with the man advantage. They move in, decap E. The members of Fire and Ice, they got themselves in defensive position. That shot won't be good enough to stop the capture on the hill. But Oxygen, trip cap domination, Mr. Crab situation, a Retro Lancer in hand. this will be the map, Taylor.
Yeah, definitely going to be the map 5-1, and there it is. Oxygen staying alive just a little bit longer. And as we said, guys, if you follow Gears Esports, maybe you're new to Gears Esports. Map number 3 is traditionally, or has been at least, the turning point. So Oxygen could very well send this to a Game 5, depending on how they play on Ritual. But well done from Scavzy, MVP for a reason. 19 assists, beautiful damage done. And going back to your point, Blaze, this looks like it was a 5-0 despite it being 5-1. And honestly, I agree with that, because that final round, or that one round that F&I wins, did come off the back of a big clutch play that took a big team effort, and they only won by literally 1 point. It was 250 to 249.
Yeah.
So Oxygen pretty much dominated that Harbor Escalation.
Yeah, they did. They did. And, I got to say, I love our competitive map cycle because, you think about the last few years of us primarily playing Escalation, that's a big part of Gears Esports at this point. But it also shows that, even though, you're going to need the best teamwork to close out this series in a 3-0 fashion, and Escalation embodies that, all right? It's like you can pull away with the control and execution, but if you can't come away with a good old Escalation map, this series will continue on. Now, we only have, one of that game mode in our cycle, but at the end of the day, you have to be good at it. And our squads who have been together for the longest, they proved that, when it comes down to the seniority, that's the map in which they can turn these series around. More times than not against our newer squads, that's the one they can come away with.
Ritual's going to be coming up next, and I was looking at the stats, and something that's very telling for me is the fact that when it comes down to Ritual, Oxygen has actually beat Rise on that map, 300 to 294. Now, they have taken some big L's. I'm looking at, they end up losing to Elevate, 236 to 300, lost to Pioneers. But just the fact that they beat Rise on Ritual showcases to me that they could be great on Ritual. So I'm looking at them to maybe be a favorite. At least, they have potential. But Fire and Ice, not a bad team on Ritual either. And quite honestly, one of the most played maps outside of District for them. So Fire and Ice, they're going to be feeling right at home on Ritual as well. And they've already won one control. So the big thing for me is, did that Harbor Escalation win from Oxygen hurt F&I mentally? Because honestly, Blaze, I think that's the biggest thing about Escalation, is the team that loses, they know, hey man, we were up 2-0, or maybe now we're down 2-1. It's just a mental thing. It's a mental L that they take, more so than anything, that kills their momentum heading into map number 4.
Yeah, and it is a momentum L, right? Even though they're up 2-0 in this series, but Oxygen, they got to be real with themselves, okay? And within them being real for themselves, they need to say, hey, guys, we might not win a lot of these execution maps against these squads, okay? Like, we might not come out on top, not execution, escalation maps against these teams. We might not come on top as much as we think we are, just because, we're the newest kids on the block. But a lot of these top teams, if they want to win a championship, they got to go against the Pioneers, Rise, the United, Noble, teams who are the best at that game mode. And so, they just need to make sure that they can be as best as they can be in control and execution. And I will get them through most of the series, and it could be a good win condition for Fire and Ice. But yeah, these escalations are going to be a sweat for them.
Definitely going to be Ritual coming up next, like I said. And you mentioned Rise, by the way. Just a caveat, Rise is going to be the next matchup. I said that at the beginning. It stays the same. Rise, they had that bye because they went flawless in their pool yesterday. So, perfect example. Whoever wins this has to play against Rise. So if you want to be champion, well, Rise is looking to be champions themselves. That would be the statement. But map number 4 is going to be a fun one. It really is. And it plays differently than District Blaze. So curious who you think it kind of benefits. The spread out map, just kind of how the hills play. Does Fire and Ice look as strong going into this one than they did on District?
I still think they do. Okay. Just because the fact is that what I like about F&I is that, they will rotate early. Okay, and I like their defensive setups. Their defensive setups is what won them the first map, if you ask me. Okay, They got the most when they was able to rotate. They got the most out of those heals when they were able to rotate early. Even after winning that first fight, they were still proactive and not playing too defense. Okay, if you guys remember me saying last season, I feel like the best setups for control are breathable. Okay, they're still fluid. You're moving around. You're still marking players, trying to figure out where they are on the map. You're not just stiff in those setups and letting your opponent know exactly where you are, making it that much easier for them to break it. as the fight's broken out, you should still find new opportunities with your right-hand advantage and other positions on the map and new angles to make that fight more solidified for your squad to come out on top. So, breathable setups are the best, and I think F9 does that well.
I think they do. And you mentioned their defensive setup. Yeah, that's strong. But they were also breaking hills fairly consistently because remember, Oxygen at times on District would have the setup and Fire and Ice would just roll right through them. So liking what I'm seeing from them. Really am. I think they're the total package. Again, it comes down to F&I's history of just losing, and I hate to say it and boil it down to that, but they get so close to victory. We talk about how great that is. It's time for them to finally get a win and get a win where it matters most. And I must say, after this series, whoever ends up losing and going down to the loser bracket, obviously your life is on the line at that point, your tournament life anyways. But more importantly, I think this series is going to hurt. And if Oxygen does lose this to F&I and, honestly would be, F&I's first W, right? I think Oxygen is not going to have a solid run in loser bracket. I think that would deflate them quite a bit. So for Oxygen, this is an important win that they need. Even if they lose to Rise in the next series, if they go there and they do lose, I don't think that's going to affect them as much as it would if F&I beat them.
I'm with you on that one too as well. Okay. Now Taylor, when it excuse me, when it comes down to it at the end of the day, both these squads, Oxygen and Fire and Ice, you've watched them both play a lot. Do you think F&I is going to close it out right now?
Man, again, it comes down to how hard or how badly did that escalation hurt them, because I know at least they have been the better team in this series outside of map number 3. I think they can 100% win this. And look, it's a great team fight already off the rip. They get the torque bow. Rocky though looking to pop off. Chavi's got the meat show, but Chavii with the misroll. But hey, Rapidz is there to save his life, and all is right with the world when it comes to Fire and Ice. Chavii with the torque bow now can put in some work. So yeah, can Fire and Ice win this? Absolutely. They just got the hard part done, and that's a great shot from Chavii to connect on Abolics.
Yeah, no, that's a great shot indeed there from him. So now with Chavii able to clean up this kill here towards the outside of it all, you're going to see torque bow in hand, Oxygen looking to get set up for next a bit, but it's still plenty of time on his current heal, Taylor. They're going to have to move on over here in just a bit, give it one more good fight, but actually they're not. With 30 seconds left, it says, hey, you know what? We'll start to set up for next, move from there. Now on the flip end, Solar, he's going to be able to miss that shot. Taken out quickly, and advantage goes on over to Oxygen.
We're towards Oxygen, but obviously not the score lead, at least at this point. But they're going to catch up. You would have to think so. We'll go back to map number 1, where Oxygen had a great lead, and then Fire and Ice came back. So that first hill, good indication as to how the rest is going to play out, but it's not everything. So don't put all your eggs in one basket. One more shot for Chavii, torque bow in hand. Any connection would be great, especially taking down Bronny. It's revving up, but I don't think he's going to get a connection here, and he sadly won't. So for Fire and Ice, it's all about muscle strength, all about brute force. And that's exactly what they're going to do. 3-man push, first blood going to Abolics is going to drop. Rocky will take down Rapidz, but that's on the opposite end. Either way, Oxygen still has a chance, but they're on the back pedal, and F&I only have one more to get through, and that's going to be Rocky.
Now Rocky, as he is here at the front position of this hill, he is waiting left, right. Doesn't matter where this flank is going to come from, unless it's actually the flank, right? Unless the flank comes through and Rapidz lit him up there. Rocky take it out there, but Rapidz flanked as well. These kills get cleaned up in favor of Fire and Ice for now, but Oxygen comes through and they win the 2v1. So with this remaining scrap time, Taylor, they will be able to put themselves in a position to come back and have this lead. Yep. So player 5 is already going to be set up for P3, but you're starting to see Fire and Ice still playing to this hill one more time, and that's going to be problematic for them because these spawns are going to come in for Oxygen on the opposite end right now.
Well said, Blaze. That's been an issue with Fire and Ice for so long. You look back at the silly mistakes they made on District, not utilizing. By the way, Rocky is setting the trap, and Chavii is just absolutely blown away. Pieces all over the place. Rocky eventually falls, but hey, that's okay. One of the things about Fire and Ice is they do make silly mistakes. District, they held on to the drop shot too long. You could even argue that they made a couple of pushes that were a bit too too late. They didn't need to. They weren't justified in doing so. By the way, this nade could just devastate F9, and we'll take down Rapidz. Toxiq will fall shortly after. There's going to be the third of Solar, but Solar's actually holding his ground. Bronny trying to do his best, but Chavii takes him down, and Chavii gets 2, and he's got 1 more to get through, and that's going to be Rocky, and Rocky should be dead. The Riots, because Chavii's in the front, Toxiq and Solar's in the back, and it looks like Rocky is just doing everything he can, but it's not going to be enough.
Yeah, it's not going to be enough there, Taylor. Now, F9 set up on the hill, 49 seconds left in it. Oxygen, they're spawning there. They got some good spawns there towards the outskirts, and also player 5 with a flank. Solar will see him there towards the back. You let a squad know that we got to move forward, or we'll be taking free shots in our back, and Oxygen uses this opportunity to move up as well. The pinch, it comes through. Oxygen continues to get time off this hill with 30 seconds left. They'll have that man advantage, but great shots from Chavii to get his squad back into this hill. He will have Scavzy come back over to help his squad mate out, possibly win this fight. With 20 seconds left, no other members of Oxygen are going to come to this side of the map. They say, Scavzy, take out as many as you can. We're going to start playing for next.
Yep, start playing for next. That's what they did before. That's what netted them an opportunity to close the deficit within 20, and has an opportunity to do just the same here. Chavii will get the fresh torque bow. Third time Chavii's had torque bow in his hand, mind you, so he's consistently timing it properly. Nades are also going to be back up too, and Scavzy is going to drop, so at least 1 member down of your defensive setup. And mind you, player 6 has also died off. So Fire and Ice, despite them attacking the scrap time blaze and rotating a bit late, allowing Oxygen to set up defensively, F9 easily gets a clean break. This is where they could take a substantial lead.
Now, I agree with you. This is where they can really kind of just pull here towards the forefront. And with them having this 2-1 lead, Taylor, as this lead, with them having a 2-1 series lead, as the score lead in this map grows, Fire and Ice, their confidence is growing, but also the pressure on Oxygen's shoulder, that weight is becoming to be a lot for them. Now, some of these players, they can carry that weight with grace, and under that pressure, they're gonna start playing the best that they've ever played before. And we'll see if that starts to come true with these kills happening here towards the neutral. Now is the time for that to come to fruition. Just for the fact that Oxygen, they don't got much wiggle room to work with, as F9 is on the offensive. 2 players pinching from multiple sides. They're going to be coming away with 1 kill. The flank is there. You see these Fire and Ice players, they're just backing up, right? Backing up little by little. They say, we got help coming. We don't need to be the heroes. We just want to be the team and just get rid of this 0 and get a win finally.
Get rid of that 0 is a fact, man. It's wild, isn't it? Fire and Ice didn't win a single series when it came to Pro League, but now they're looking to take a victory. Bronny, a little bit of a stutter there. I thought we were going to have a technical pause. It happens, but he's going to be all right. He was just kind of, I guess, gazing about, seeing if F9 was going to be in that hill any longer, but they've actually prioritized the rotation, which good for them. This is the first time we've seen F9 actually try to rotate early and defensively set up, so that is a solid plus.
He dropped a squid grip or something like that,
He dropped the squid grip.
hey, I've been at tournaments before, and I used to play with cushions on my thumbsticks, and it'd be like mid-round, you do high fives and everything like that, and next thing you know, a thumb grip falls under the desk, and I tell you, I hit all 4 so fast. I'm doing bear crawls like, where's the set? Flashlight, because you got a few seconds before the round starts, right?
Of course, yeah.
Ain't no gentlemen's on land, okay?
Just go.
You ain't there to play. It's over.
I'm just wondering how the squid grip falls off, because that's sticky. But hey, man, some people are rough on those controllers.
Sweaty thumbs, bro. It'd be like that. Wear them down after a while. You play with them things for about a month. Shoot.
All right. Well, F9 going to go for the break this time around. Abolics has the torque, and he's going to immediately connect on a Toxiq, but the nade will take him down. That's literally a perfect nade, because not only do you get rid of him, but you get rid of the torque bow. Chavii with the flank. The Lancer fire is going to hurt, and Oxygen gets put into the blender. But the scoreline is still very close. So despite F9 doing a great job rotating, getting set up defensively early on, Oxygen is excelling when it comes to breaking the setup. We just have a highly competitive map here, and I got to be honest, I wouldn't have it any other way.
I wouldn't have it any other way as well, okay? Hell, especially with both these 2 teams, and we talked about it being close early on today on the analyst that said that, hey, this can go to a map 5, and they were not lying. As we're about to start moving on over towards our next hill on the map is going to be in the bottom left of your mini map, as you're seeing Fire and Ice able to wolf pack here, towards this P4 and be able to pick up these kills. But nice one for Rocky. Toxiq's going to be making his way back towards the spawn. Great shots from him. He's going to stay alive for now. He gets a mark on Abolics, but he's getting flanked once again, doing his best to stay alive. But look at the mini-map, right? His team got deep spawns on the opposite end. This is not the time for them to die because I think they're going to get those spawns once again. But if they can get this kill on Abolics, force their way towards the backside of spawn, hey, this could be good for them. But as I say that, Scavzy, Bronny, they eat.
They are eating for sure, man. And man, Chavii's been performing well. Got to give it to him. 10k damage, 17 kills across the board. Solo not too bad. 10s across the board. But either way, I think, look, my gut feeling right now is telling me Oxygen is about to start heating up. And they've already started, mind you, Blaze. But something is telling me F&I is about to start falling really behind.
Yeah, ooh.
I'm feeling it. I'm just saying,
the way,
it's the vibe.
And that's good. That's a good call out, okay? Because I'm with you on there. I can double down on that just because the fact is that you look at these last few hills, they've been like, they've been losing a lot of big fights like that right there.
Yep.
The kill feed lighting up red. That's a huge double kill coming out from Rocky. And that's going to let his team get some more points. It's 16 left off of this one before we get our second rotation of hills. We're going back towards P1. And it's going to be Oxygen once again, really set up in this area. This 2v2 fight, it was won here so far by Fire and Ice, but as these players are rotating out, they can't win the second one.
Who's next? Fire and Ice has to play this very carefully. They've got to play this very carefully, and they need to regain composure because Oxygen, when they start slaying out and filling themselves, they start making big plays. For Fire and Ice, they can recover, and they are recovering at the moment. But the reason why I said the momentum had shifted is because Oxygen was starting to move crispier. They were starting to move in a clean fashion, a confident fashion. And that Oxygen is the Oxygen you don't want to play against. Fire and Ice, in my opinion, just shut that momentum down, and they did it in a quick fashion, which is exactly what they needed to do. And F&I now takes the momentum back. So I know it sounds weird to say that, guys, but it's like there's just these momentum shifts that take place, and it's very quick in how they go, right? Rocky pulls off a big 2-piece, 3-piece, all of a sudden F&I, they're starting to hurt and feel bad. F&I, if they can shut this push down, hey, they're going to be doing all right. They're going to have a good lead. Oh, no.
Great shots, but the kills don't come through. No revive there. It's Oxygen who bully their way into this hill. They're going to take this team fight with Solar being the last one left. He's taken out. And now Torque Bow and Hill setup will be here for Oxygen. They're going to push through and take the spawns. They know that they're going to be contested right off the start. Now, Oxygen, they will be able to pull away and get a slight lead, but it's not going to be much. Where they're going to get the most of that team fight, Taylor, is the usage of this Torque Bow, right? They got 4 shots. They use their team fight to take down Toxiq, but with the remaining 3 players of F&I, they're going to have to keep their heads down, keep them on a swivel as well. That's going to be 1 bow connected with 2 left. That's going to be inactive in the chamber. He moves on over, takes the spawn. He's going to pull out his shotty and pistol, knowing they just need those support weapons for his squad. Puts it on the ground, can't connect. 1 bow left.
Had to send it flying. You just had to. Revved it up a little bit too long. Now that's F&I taking advantage. Abolics was great with that first pick. I thought, hey, Oxygen, they're going to be on the hill. They're going to be looking solid, but Fire and Ice, hey, look, composure's there, and they are on the hill. So this is their opportunity. The first team to break 200. The first team potentially to get the 250 off of this hill alone. Oxygen split up 2-2, 6 and 7. So Rocky and Bronny are going to be going headfirst into Chavii and Toxiq. That's where the first battle needs to be won for Fire and Ice, as well as for Oxygen. On the opposite end, well, that will pop up depending on how the fight inside the hill goes. But I like F&I's, or at least the way that they adjusted. They sent a 3rd player down. Now it's a 3v2, but that forces now Solar in a 1v2, and he drops. So Oxygen, they can get the breakdown.
Oh, boy. Oh, man. Great team fight from Oxygen. Just... they took their time moving in 1 by 1. And even like a little bait and switch, right? They'll move up in 1 lane. They'll back out. He'll have 2 players focused on him. And then another lane sees it opening. And they move up and they get some shots on those players back. So great team fight there coming out from Oxygen. Now, as we move on over, getting ready for P2, Oxygen set themselves up to win another one. Great shot over the cover from Chavii, but the flank from Bronny is here. Can he find another kill for his team? Yes, he will. Can he get another? Got help. The back on the left will connect on Solar. He'll be weak. Quick kill for Rocky. in. A torque bow placed on the ground from Abolics will save his life. Almost took his life as well. It's going to be Oxygen taking that bow towards the back spawn with 2 left in the chamber. They will have this set up at next, and they also have the lead, everybody. It's 70 points on this hill. It's anyone's game.
It is definitely anybody's game in Abolics. He needs to connect, and he is going to send one flying, I believe, and there it is. It takes down Solar. Toxiq is still down. He'll get the cleanup, and Abolics now can impinge his will onto Rapidz. Good shot, but luckily he's got some help. That is the biggest team fight win for Oxygen in this entire game, and the reason why is because how close to victory they are. But Chavii, he's back for vengeance. He's out for blood. Solar on the top side. He's in a 1v. Abolics is weak. Solar can't push, and now it's going to be a scrappy one as all members of either team pushing forward.
Now he's stuck, but Abolics has moved in. The fact that Abolics is still alive is beyond me right now, okay? He is the reason why Oxygen is still collecting time off this hill, because if he goes down, that's Fire and Ice making this a tie game once again. And they have an opportunity at doing it now, but Abolics finally goes down momentarily. But the revive, the flank, the Lancer Fire, the call-outs, the intensity is there as Oxygen will suffocate Fire and Ice on top of that hill. They're rotating for next. 40 seconds for the next bow in Nage to come up. And I do believe that the next set of power weapons, Taylor, is going to win the game. Now, the first player to die off a respawn is going to have to get that bow. 30 points needed for Oxygen to be able to take this map.
Oh, that's a big opening kill, and a second follows suit. Bronny Abolics down. Rocky also forced to crawl around. Scavzy forced the retreat. But I guess if your team was going to be eliminated in that first battle, well, honestly, that is where you wanted to be eliminated, because now they can rotate over and they're getting the torque bow. So Oxygen, still a chance to come back and break. Plus, they have the point lead. They have a little bit more leeway. So if they lose this second retake attempt, well, they might be in trouble. So Abolics, we're looking at a Blaze. You set it up right. He needs to go big with the torque.
Yeah, he misses a few shots. You know, he only has 2 left in the chamber, so 3 miss. The next one goes down. There's just multiple downs here for F&I. Abolics fully disengages. This is the big fight for him because he still has 1 bow left. He dodges Bronny, and they will back up. And now this is where that bow is not going to connect. But if you would have called Rapidz, man, that would have been a turnaround. It's a tight game, folks. Can Fire and Ice get their first win of the season? Here to kick off the championship bracket on Saturday. They'll find 2 more kills.
Oh my
gosh. You see Rapidz working that right hand, having to back up, use his teammates' help, but it's Oxygen. They're just using this little slither of cover to work together to not go down, waiting for help off the respawn, which is here. Solar's trying to make it to his team as well, but Chavii with a big kill. Chavii with another down. Chavii with a 3rd down. The cleanup, the help, but he needs 1 more. It's not over yet.
It's not over yet.
But the flank, the spawns, Chavii ducks, dodges, and dips.
Oh, he got it in the end, but there's not enough time. There's not enough time. They're within striking distance, but Blaze, we have seen matches go this close, and then the other team takes the victory. Oxygen, they've got to hold their ground right here, right now. And it looks like they're trying to Abolics dancing around. It's getting scrappy. Toxiq hit in face, but it's gone. And Toxiq picks him up, but he's still by himself, and he's going to get tag team. Chavii now on the outside looking in. He's got to push forward. Enough time for Oxygen to win this. They've got to be careful, though, because if F&I retakes this hill, it is all but over with. Whoever loses this team fight loses this map.
Iron Ice, can you do it? Can you get it done when it matters the most? 9 seconds needed. 1 more team fight. 2 more kills to get your first win. Or will Oxygen hold them off again? Bronny with a wrap. Chavii, he goes down. It's up to Toxiq, but he gets crossed. He's stunned. No one else to help. The flash comes through. They have to go wide. And Fire and Ice, they get 1 more chance at it, Taylor.
They touch, but Solar's down. Chavii now, he's trying to go for the pickup, but it doesn't matter. 300 to 291, and my heart breaks for F&I once again. Once again, so close to victory, yet so far away. And just like that, Oxygen sends it to a game number 5. Abolics with almost a 30 bomb, and Chavii with almost a 30 bomb. But it doesn't matter what Chavii did because F&I took the L. Tomb Execution, map number 5 is going to be coming up after this. It comes down to that map. And And welcome back, everybody, to the Gears Fall Major. Map number 5 soon to be upon us. It's going to be Tomb Execution, but before we get to that point, we got to break down the heartbreaking loss plays for Fire and Ice and the crazy win Oxygen ended up getting. It came down to that final team fight. And I'm not talking about when F&I went into damage control, forced to get a touch. Hey, we just need to get into the hill because Oxygen, they're going to win. I'm talking about when it was 288 to 288 to 291. F&I needed to break the defensive setup of Oxygen, and they simply could not. It is killing me that F&I consistently gets this close to victory and then always finds a way to lose.
Yeah, always finds a way, okay? Like, oh, man. Like, and Taylor, we talked about it at the end of the break. I said when I saw him at 291, like, still in my heart, I was like, are they actually going to win it finally? Like, even with 9 seconds needed, I wasn't fully convinced. And it's only because, like, they lose in exciting fashion, right? Like, Fire and Ice, out of all the teams that have went winless in our league, they are the best of the worst, okay? They're most exciting of the worst, all right?
It kills me, dude.
And I don't want that for them because they were single digits away in control. A 2v2 away from their first win, and that pressure was, they just couldn't get through. They couldn't get over it, and now you have to go on over towards the execution where they have to take a breath and say, okay, 1 more map, 6 more rounds, and we'll see if they can get it done.
Dude, it's just, for F&I, this win would have meant so much to them. This is it. This is it, by the way. That final team fight. So 274 to 291. Actually, it extended a little bit longer because Chavii had a chance to get in here and do something. It was literally deadlock 291. And then Toxiq, he did his best. He really did. If he gets the full chunk on the Scavzy there, maybe there's an opportunity. But either way, F&I at that point was just in damage control. We got to get a touch. And Oxygen, they just held their ground. That's a big win. Oxygen, there's no question who has the momentum now. And again, guys, the storyline is the same. Harbor, that's where the turning point was. Escalation is the map that if you're going to turn a series around, that's going to be where you do it, and you do it in a dominant fashion, and Oxygen did exactly that, winning 5-1. So at this point, going into Tomb Execution, my only fear for Fire and Ice, I don't doubt their mechanical skill. I don't doubt their, well, I do doubt their ability to win. I have to, because they haven't won yet, and that's not a joke. I don't mean that as a joke. I'm not roasting them, but I really am struggling to see if they're going to be composed here, because they have been so close to victory so many times. A United prime example that it's just a mental barrier at this point, Blaze. That's what I worry about. Can they win themselves? Like, I don't know. I don't know if they believe themselves. I don't know.
At this point, I don't know if it's meant to be. I don't know. I don't know if it's meant to be for this roster to come out victorious. Granted, their destiny is in their own hands, but you think about the ways in which they lost, something is up. It just ain't meant to be. Okay. Like, you can go back and look at the loss to PK that they took at the end of the league to avoid relegation, to this series, to the one against United, to early on, to multiple game 5s in which this squad has played against the best of the best. And they just can't get it done. I don't got nothing else to say on it. It just comes down. I'm a spectator at this point. It's the championship bracket. I have nothing else to analyze about F&I. I'm just strapped in, and whatever they bring that day, they bring, because we see them do great things. We see them, have some blunders, but ultimately at the end of the day, all we got to say is that they have to close. That's it. They got to close out close out series somehow, some way. Got to close. I mean, that's literally it. And I'm a spectator too, because I'm like, how do I break this down? Well, I don't know. The only thing that I can say is I genuinely do believe in F&I. I have believed in F&I. I think they're a wonderful team. They are a great team. They've proven that time in and time out, but they just struggle in literally the final seconds of the maps. They struggle in the final seconds of the series. They just, it's literally, they play so well for 10 minutes. And then the next 5 seconds is where they lose it every single time. It is heartbreaking. Sometimes it takes for you to get a win to believe you can win. I agree. Right? And that's what I've been saying. And like, so when we said earlier that imagine if they win and they just don't stop winning, that could have been that series, right? Like if they would have won in that exciting fashion, right? Hey, I think Rise would have been able to, like, Rise would have probably had to sit up for the next match. Okay, yeah, like I agree. Rise would have probably had to crack open a Red Bull and get their coffee early in the day for that matchup if that was the case. But F&I, hey, we'll see if they can get it done here on Tomb, you guys. All right.
was looking at actually the stats real quick for Oxygen. They have played Tomb a couple of times during Pro League.
Okay.
One of them was against Noble. They lost 4-6. Excuse me. Scavzy was the standout player with 7 kills himself. Obviously being instrumental. He's been great all night. Not all night, excuse me, but going back to Escalation is where he started to heat up. Scavzy's been definitely performing exceedingly well. And then they also play against Rebel. They lost that. It went to round 11 though. They lost 5-6. Across the board, relatively even in stats. Scavzy still the guy with the most damage done. Abolics was just behind him. Got to go and look for Fire and Ice in terms of their performance on Tomb. But one of the big things that we have been seeing that might benefit them is the 4v4 fight in mid, which makes them comfortable. They do like the headbutt fight. At this point, I couldn't tell you who has the better slaying power. I could tell you that after District, but I couldn't tell you at this point in time because it was so evenly based. I'm going to be honest with you, stats aside, all history aside, all that aside, it really genuinely comes down to, is FNI going to be able to take that loss on a chin and come into Map 5 with a clear head and play how we know they can play? That's truly what it comes down to. At this point, it really is a mental game. And has FNI been mentally broken? I don't know. That's what it comes down to.
No. I don't think they I don't think they have. Even though we've seen a lot of teams that would be broken off a series like that, FNI, this isn't the first time they've been here, okay? This isn't the first time in which they should have won a series and they didn't, all right? So it just comes down to them saying, okay, well, one more map, all right? We're still on the winner side of the bracket. You know, we may be on one of the hardest sides, but one more map. Actually, debatable on what's the hardest side and not. You got to ask yourself when it comes down towards the semis, do you want to go up against, out of our top 4 teams, Arise and E United or Noble and Pioneers, right? That's the big question out of the two of those on in a championship bracket during the major. Rise United, Noble, Pioneers. All right. So either side of the bracket is going to be tough to play up against. But now as we head on over towards Tomb, these 1v1 fights, I'm expecting. I'm trying to think of the snipe player for Fire and Ice who plays that side. It may be Chavii in that lane. Either Chavii. Yeah, Chavii or Solar. So it's either going to be one or two, but they're going to have to really be assertive there, playing that underpass, getting angles there towards the middle, because as we've seen the meta shift, that's where most of the plays have been coming through on Tomb. But, you know, Tomb is still a map with having those 2 power weapons down the center. You have multiple options at initial strategies. It just comes down to where majority of the players are on the map at that mid portion of snipe side. Because it's so stacked over there, you get more options at being able to shift between players with your squad's focus.
And go back to yesterday, FNI did play against a United on Tomb. That was map number 2 for execution. They go to round 11. It did go to round 11. And, that could have been FNI's, actually, literally that one round would have been this series, because then they would have taken a 2-0 lead. They ended up winning Regency control 300-239. So, yeah, I mean, they could have beat E United, gave E United one of their only losses. They didn't lose yesterday, despite them going to, nail-biter maps, map 5s constantly. But regardless, Tomb does seem to be one again. I go back to it. It's just a mental thing. You're right, though, Blaze. They have been here before many times. Yeah. But, the only thing, and the only negative with saying that is, they have been here many times before, and they always lose, Think
about the series with E United. It was close, right? It was a close series
up until map 5. Up until map 5.
Up until map 5, right?
They lost 6-1.
They knew that they can push them the distance. They knew they can push Oxygen a distance, okay? And that's probably been part of their confidence so far throughout this series. And now they just got to get it done. Yeah, they went round 11 with E United on this map.
Yeah. And
just got to close it out.
And Blaze, by the way, historically with FNI, they perform well in the first 4 maps, but I'm telling you, every time they go to a map 5, this is where they fall flat. Every single time.
It's like they don't believe they can win.
I agree.
It's like they don't believe they can win. You're 9 points away from your first dub. You don't believe you can do it.
And that's that mental blocker that I've been pointing out. That's the mental blocker I've been pointing out. They just, either way, hey, maybe this time's going to be different. For Fire and Ice fans out there, send your energy, because they are going to need it. Shutting down Scavzy, that's the most important part in my opinion. You got to do so, because Scavzy, he wreaks havoc on this map. So fighting for the snipe is going to be Toxiq. Already, though, being angled out, but he might have some help. Chavii will end up falling. Toxiq has an opportunity, and it looks as if it's going to be good. It's going to be a 3v2, and now it's a 2v2. Toxiq's pinned up. Scavzy, now he's getting sandwiched. It's a 1v1. Toxiq versus Scavzy, and it's going to be Toxiq. F9. That is the start you needed, my boys.
Yeah, man. When it comes down to those players, kind of like sliding the covers for those wrap shots, putting himself in that one shot range. In my mind, it's like Bobby's game once you get that distance. Okay, you miss one shot, that could be the round for you. And you'll see this from Toxiq, right? He slides in, little wrap, but he's in one shot range. He just dodges, gets the melee off. Scavzy had the opportunity there with that shot. He missed in the end. It's Fire and Ice who strikes first.
Strikes first. Now, keep the momentum up. Oxygen, they are looking to come back with a vengeance. This time we do see a 4v4 fight. Nobody going for the Torko, right? No 1v1 lanes outside of Abolics in a 1v against Rapidz. And wow, that is uncharacteristic of Abolics, is it not? Rapidz will eat him up. And now it's a 3v2 as Bronny is looking at Scavzy dying off. It's a 2v2 now. Rocky snipe in hand.
Oh, who's going to be his first target? I'm thinking Rap is there. Now, these players, they're going to start shifting out of here for some power weapons soon, right? You got the bow on the back end of the map. You got nades behind Bronny and Rocky. You see the shift here on the side. Now, Bronny could move around and create some openings here for Rocky, but instead, they both do a 1, 2, 3. Like they count it off. They spread for the shocks. Now, when it comes down towards the route that Bronny took, he cut back for the bow. He takes the long way to get there. But yeah, this should be a good opportunity for Rocky to be able to get some shots with this rotation. He sees both players, has a shock in front of him. That's an isolation. Do you go for the 1v1 or do you go for the help to help your teammate out? Bronny misses a bow, but he cuts back. But it seems like Oxygen is indecisive. Rocky is looking to help Bronny, but they need to come together and make a play, take a quick 2v1 on one of these players. They got both power weapons, but they're trying to slow the map down, Taylor. And Fire and Ice is not going to allow them to do that for free. Great shot from Bronny. 1v1. 1v1.
Solar wants it. Bronny wants it too. Bronny's a tough one to deal with. Solar trying to bait and switch. Bronny go for shock in hand. Solar now has to go forward, but he can't. Bronny now actually has himself separated. Can he? Torko's not there, excuse me. So now he can back up. 5 seconds remaining. Solar finds an angle. It's a tense fight though. It for sure is. Overtime he'll come into play. Bronny's got to go. He gets a toe in. Solar, you got to get a touch, my boy. You got to get a touch. Push forward. Keep it reset. Bronny knows he's weak. And Solar will drop it. Bronny will clutch it up and give him the love that he deserves. We're tied up 1-1. That was a long one. 2 minutes and 10 seconds.
Oh man, it was a long one indeed. Fire and Ice almost pulled away with that one. And you're gonna, this is a big one from Solar. It's the shot. Bronny's gonna wrap it, and he threw that shot grenade. And I'm saying questionable, debatable at first, but in the end, that was the position he wanted to be in. You saw how he got the foot in. He was able to watch over his shoulder. He knew exactly how he wanted to play that fight. And he set Solar up well.
Round number 3, Bronny, this time getting very aggressive. Gets a drop on 1. That's going to at least send the cavalry forward. This might be a clean round for Oxygen, the cleanest round, the most dominant round we have seen. Toxiq will fall, and there it is. Team Ace. Fire and Ice hopefully aren't slowing down. That last round could have hurt, but I think they'll be just fine. But Oxygen clearly feeling themselves, right? First it was Bronny giving love in the last round, and now a 4-man beatdown on the Toxiq. Cover your eyes. It's getting nasty out here.
Yeah, woo woo. It's gonna be like that all map, okay? All map. Just because of the fact that Oxygen knows that they are living in Fire and Ice's head, right?
Yep.
And every round in which they win, if they can, just taunt them like that a little bit, just a little bit more on top of the way that they won that last map, F&I is gonna go straight to the losers bracket, okay? They're just gonna go straight down. They're just gonna have to deal with, being the best team on that side of the tournament. But there's still plenty of opportunity for them to flip it around. But it's gonna take a good IGL. It's gonna take an impactful player on his team, one that's respected, to be able to raise his voice and say, hey guys, we need to come together, make the plays happen. And if you need a player to do it, it's got to be Chavii. Rapidz with a back 8 hits Scavzy. He gets taken out. No kills traded out there. No one in position. The Wolfpack was too strong from Oxygen. They were very decisive on what they wanted to play for. Now they're going to get themselves some frag grenades soon as they had this up top control. With the bow here, they need to move quick, Taylor. Fire and Ice, they have an opportunity. That's a good flash.
Oh.
The chunk is going to be missed.
Might be over with. Snipe in hand, lining it up, and it's going to connect. And that is going to be all she wrote for round number 4. Oxygen is a team that you've got to shut them down when they start filling themselves. And I felt F&I did that at multiple times, at multiple points during ritual control. but they haven't done it yet. Outside of the first 2 rounds, guys, it's been all Oxygen, and they're starting to run away with this map, proving that Oxygen might be the best team here on Tomb. Like I said, Fire and Ice, when they go to map 5, guys, I'm not going to lie, they normally lose 6-0, 6-1. I really hope we don't see that F&I here keep it competitive, but they got to stop Bronny and go on the opposite end. A lot of manpower being placed over there, but it looks like Rocky's going to open up with a couple of downs, and it looks like Oxygen is cruising their way to another round when Rapidz last alive, goes for 1, hits the second. It's not going to be enough. 4-1 lead for Oxygen.
Yeah, they're in their head, bro. They're in their head. They're living rent-free. Living rent-free, you know, Fire and Ice. They just got to find some way to just turn this around, man. You know, get back into it. It's not there. You know, I can only imagine what the comms are like. You know, I feel like they're quiet there on the side of Fire and Ice.
That's where they need that aggressive pep talk. You know what I'm saying? That aggressive.
Yeah. They just say, hey, guys, no matter what happened the previous 4 rounds, these guys suck. Okay, we're better. We had a few flukes, but let's turn around. We still have an opportunity to move on forward in the winner side of the bracket. Yeah. Let's go.
All right, well, F&I, this is it. They can't go down 5-1, Blaze. Simply cannot go down 5-1. They've got to turn their luck around right here, right now. Rocky, though, he is hungry. He's going in, but so is the rest of his boys from Oxygen on the opposite side. So at this point, Toxiq's kind of pinned up. He can't break free. As soon as he turns this corner, he's got Rocky to deal with, but Rocky luckily backs up. The timing of that. And now Chavii gets it down. It's a 4v4. Every member from F&I has to hold their ground, and Toxiq sees an opportunity. He's taking it.
Oh, yeah, he missed that third shot there, but the downs came through. That was good for them. Bronny takes a little bit of damage. You see the players pushing down there towards the bottom portion of the map. Toxiq stays alive. That was a great pickup from him. Now, the body shot kill won't get cleaned up, but it is a 3v2 on the map. And this is where F&I just needs to spread out, slow down, start thinking about the torque bolt and nades. Make sure that no other power weapons can go in favor of Oxygen. This close quarters battle, they will get 1 down, and Scavzy's going to be last left alive. He's taken out.
All right.
Fire and Ice finally back on the board. So we'll see if they can get round 7, but that's what they need. They need to stop the bleeding real quickly, Taylor. And they did that because they don't want to be down 5-1.
No, especially on that point, series point. You know, especially on that point, series point. Yeah, you got the loser bracket that, you know, kind of gives you some type of comfort, but come on, you don't want to drop down the loser bracket after round 1, and Fire and Ice for sure doesn't want to lose another map 5, the 10th one that they would have lost right throughout Pro League as well as the Major. Bronny this time back to his old aggressive ways, backs up because Fire and Ice has good presence. Chavii's hit with an absolute apartment complex though, but isolated is Solar, and Solar holds his ground. That was needed, but a 4v3. F&I, they've got the man advantage. Solar's finally gone, now a 3v2, and it looks like Rocky's in a bit of trouble. So is Scavzy. Rapidz needs it down, and he's going to get it, and there it is, ladies and gentlemen. F&I back in the saddle, 1 round down. You love to see it if you're an F&I fan.
All right, let's see if they can do it on 8, right? Let's see on round number 8, can they get it tied up 4-4? Because we've seen Oxygen blow some round 5 leads before. Okay?
Yes, we have.
We can talk about that.
Yes, we have. I'll talk about it because you know what? We've been harping on F&I losing map 5, losing in ways where they shouldn't. No, you're absolutely right. Oxygen has blown leads, and they do so because they get too confident. And those beatdowns might come to bite them in the butt.
Maybe the team who was going to go up first in this last map was going to be the one that loses just because, you know, feeling too confident, right? Because both of these teams suffer from something similar, but it comes down to who can be the closer, all right? Those ABCs. Now, 4 bowls left in the hands of Abolics. No snipe picked up, and with Solar being taken out here towards the middle portion of the map, Oxygen knows that our focus needs to go over here towards the snipe side, all right? Possibly even get the nades up top if we can. Chavii got marked, so Oxygen knows that, hey, these players on the low side are by themselves. We also just got to move up top and make sure that Chavii can't get those nades for free. So Rapidz
trying to gauge. Did Sniper get picked up and dropped, or is it still?
I think it's on the ground. Oh, no. What a ball!
Yeah.
I think he banked it off the back wall there.
Right.
Little ricochet.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Toxiq. He's got to go big. He knows it. Oh, no. Sniper's still
Winnable.
down. Sniper is still there, baby. And Toxiq's got it. Got to watch the flank, though. Scavzy, he's there. Toxiq knows. That was a wild shot. Calm it down a little bit. Fill it through. 1v3. Shock in hand. Not going to happen. And it is what it is. Toxiq, he's trying to avoid the beatdown by going into shock, but it's just not good. He's still alive. He's still alive. Oh, God.
Yeah, nah, he couldn't avoid that one. He couldn't avoid that one at all. That snipe shot around the corner, I appreciate the pre-fire there from him, just knowing that he had to find a quick play there, find a quick pick to make it a 2v2 as his teammate was fighting. In the end, it will be Oxygen 1 round away from completing this reverse sweep in this series, Taylor. When they were down 0-2 against F&I, looking for their first win when it mattered the most, Oxygen has found some way to just stay alive, okay? It's been a slow series for them, right? 1 round at a time, just trying to climb back into this one, but they are showing, they're showing their signs of life here in this map number 5. Now, Chavii's going to get these nades. Let's see what he can do with them.
First time he's went up top like this, Blaze, so maybe encouraging. They're trying new things. They have to. They're not just repeating the same process over and over again, but he's got to keep his head down a little bit because he is getting challenged on those steps. Now, he does have a nice cross here, but with Fire and Ice, they don't see an opportunity to push up yet. But if Bronny drops, F9's going to push it, but Abolics, he gets to Torque. Toxiq gets to snipe. Best of both worlds for both rosters. Chavii, big fight he needs to win. Keep those nades in hand. Rocky is going to make it easy. Nade out. Rocky backs up. Rocky actually doesn't get away. What a shot from Toxiq. It's a 4v3.
Yeah, no, Toxiq has to go huge for his team here. That was beautiful from him. Now, with it being a 4v3, this is where Fire and Ice just have to take it kill by kill. Slow it down, all right? Tranquilo. They don't want to get ahead of themselves. They have the power weapons that they need to use. Chavii, with an L trigger lined up, does not want anyone to see the glint of that snipe. Bronny is not going to get hit with that body shot, boy. I thought it was going to be him. Now, as we can tell now that this hill will be going up top, there will be 4 bowls there towards the back end, and that's going to be in the hands of Abolics. He's going to be waiting for that active. I love how he held that, though.
Right. Overtime Hill's going to be starting in 25 seconds. You still have at least the only 1v1 I can tell, and that's Rapidz and Scavzy in mid. Bronny once again is tempting fate. Toxiq not taking the bait, but you can't waste too much time because, well, Oxygen starting to establish themselves on the overtime hill. And look, I don't care if it's a 4v3. If you capture the hill, you capture the hill. Scavzy's down in mid, now 4v2, and that leaves the pressure up to Bronny to Abolics to go big.
Yeah, some last-second nades. They collect on the kills. Oh, that's a good nade.
They can do this. No, not like this, F&I! Get a touch! No! Oxygen wins it 6-3 despite Oxygen being in a 4v2. Not like this, but it is like this. Oxygen wins 3-2. They complete the reverse sweep, and they will move forward to play against Rise.
Big congratulations to Oxygen for staying alive in this series. To kick off the championship bracket, they were in a scary situation, but they showed their composure, Taylor. And map after map, they clawed their way back into the series.
I just want to scream.
Now, they showing breath of life.
I just want to scream, bro. It's like, come on, man. F&I.
They beat themselves. They beat themselves.
They beat themselves. Look, and I got to take a step back. Look, because I've been harping on F&I. It's not because I'm a super fan of F&I. It's really not. No. They're just the underdogs. But it's heartbreaking to see them consistently have the lead in a series. Be 1 round away like they were, right? 1 round away from victory against the United. And that was after Tomb when they lost in round 11. Or to be 8 points or 9 points away from victory like they were on Ritual map number 4. Just to lose, it is just every single time.
We look at that last setup there, right? And even we talk about breathable defenses, okay? Even with it being a 4v3, they were really stiff with that defense, right? They had all these power weapons. They were consistently waiting for Oxygen to make the wrong move. Oxygen didn't make too many wrong moves, though, okay? They gave Oxygen time to think, Oxygen time to rotate, rather than being assertive with their numbers and the weapons in which they had. So, with that being said, you just have to be proactive with your numbers at all times if you want to be a championship squad. You can't be passive like that. The game is not going to always play into your hands the way that you think it is. And in a 4v2 situation, Oxygen with a few bowls, some nades, and I think maybe even like one shot grenade. They held the line very well and forced Fire and Ice to have to make a desperate push into their hands.
Well, it's definitely the most exciting series that we had in round one. Good job to Oxygen getting the 3-2 win. They'll move forward to play against Rise. F&I, keep your heads up. Hopefully you'll get a W. You're dropping down to the loser bracket. Doesn't mean your run is done just yet. Such a great series, and such a great series needs to be broken down by the three right people, okay? It's going to be John, Ryan, and Rids. Boys, make sense of what we just witnessed.
Thanks so much, Taylor. Except we got Toby. We got a better version of Ryan, all right? What's up, Toby Keith? We're back, baby. You and I on a desk for the first time in a long time, my friend. It is good to be back, especially to break down that one. To kick off Saturday and the championship bracket, we have a reverse sweep. Oxygen doing it big, Toby. Break it down for me.
Oh, what a fantastic game that was, really. I mean, it was just impressive from the get-go, right? I mean, two teams that you'd think are perhaps not the best-ranked teams in the pro scene right now, but unfortunately for a lot of teams, they've been performing this major so far, especially F&I, and it all started here, of course. F&I were absolutely incredible yesterday against E United on this one, taking it. Then they take the same kind of action against Oxygen today. They just wolf back as a team, and they sometimes just feel absolutely unstoppable in all these team fights.
Yeah, that's right. Ribs, I get you added to the conversation here, because moving on to checkout here, game number 2, one of Oxygen's best game modes, if not their best game mode, and F&I sticks it to him.
Yeah, Toxiq controlled the Incense, as we see Toxiq with the Incense pretty much every round. He had like 4 or 5 first bloods, just doing his thing, making sure he was getting that presence on the plat. And yeah, I mean, this is another heartbreaking loss for F&I. I thought they were going to get their first pro-level win here in Season 3. I thought they were going to do it when it mattered most in Champ Bracket, but a heartbreaking loss. Definitely a great way to start the day off, and definitely want to say welcome to the desk, Toby. You did a great job yesterday with your cast, all the way up until like 4 a.m. your time, and you're back with us here, just breaking some stuff down, and I'm glad to have you here.
Thanks so much, man. Absolute pleasure, and you've been killing it, of course, on the desk as always. And honestly, this harbor map as well was quite an interesting one to me, because Oxygen haven't had any experience actually on harbor in the entire pro league this split, and so for them to come around after what was a really difficult first 2 maps and perform the way they did, I was super impressed with them.
I'm going to talk about a heartbreaking game at number 4 here. It went to the distance overall, and it could have been an F&I win. Ribs, this late game was absolutely insane in game number 4.
Yeah, I mean, look at the scoreboard here. It's just like a 10-point difference. Comes down 291 tied. Literally one of the closest controls we'll probably see all weekend. If F&I was going to take it, they needed to do it right here. It came down to a closer spawn going in favor of Oxygen, and that is one of the gripes that I have with Control. There is ways to manipulate the spawns, but in those last second fights, sometimes it just seems like it's random, and in that case, it was Oxygen. They take advantage of it. They go up to this map 5, and of course, a great start from F&I once again. It seemed like they started all of these maps with a little bit of momentum, especially after those first 2, but it's going to come to a 1v1 here with Bronny. Some of these plays just go in Oxygen's favor. I love that he took that position on the hill. And John, you said you haven't really watched much of Execution. How do you like that last second hill coming into play multiple times on this map?
Yeah.
Do you like that compared to old school Execution, where it just came down to who was the last man standing?
Without a doubt, fixes the glaring issue with Execution, which was stalemates. And the reality that there's nothing to play for, there's no reason to push, and you'd have these stalemates that would just make it such a terrible spectator experience, not the best player experience as well. So it was great, obviously been great to see that in Execution 2.0. Kudos to the Coalition making those changes and making Execution viable again. Of course, it did come down to the wire here in this last one, but ultimately, you heard Blaze say it, Oxygen was living rent-free in F&I's head, and the teabagging came through, the trash talk came through as well, Toby, and in the end, it was Oxygen that came out on top of the reverse sweep.
Absolutely. And you know what's most heartbreaking for F&I in particular is that map 2 checkout, honestly, on paper, statistically, was a harder map for them against Oxygen, because Oxygen were 4-0 on checkout from Pro League, right? Fire and Ice, yeah, it might be their best map, sure. But Tomb Execution for Oxygen, they're 0-3 in Pro League this past split, right? And Fire and Ice had a fantastic game against E United yesterday on Tomb, just losing by 1 round. And so when you put it that way, it's even more heartbreaking for F&I. I really feel for them. I think it's, as Taylor and Blaze say, I think it might just be a bit of a mental block for this roster. Yes, they've performed really, really well in this major, and psychologically they seem to be on point until that last game, just like in Pro League.
Wow. Well, sometimes that's how the cookie crumbles. Despite performances all season long in Pro League, and this time around on Tomb, Oxygen is able to clutch up against FNI, who, like you said, looked pretty solid against United yesterday. So interesting start to the tournament, but who knows? Yes, it's the story continued for Fire and Ice. They're not able to clutch out in clutch moments, but maybe that's just a little bit of inspiration they need. Hey, we took this team to game 5. We did well against United, took them to game number 5. We're so close. We're right there, and perhaps a loser's bracket run is in their future. We shall see. And speaking of which, let's take a look at the bracket right now to keep you all up to speed on where things are at. All of our round 1 matches are complete. 3-0, 3-0, 3-0, and a 3-2 on main stage. We will have E United versus Knights coming up live next on the main stage, and we're ready to get this one started because these teams have been waiting for that one to wrap up. E United and Knights. I'm going to start to jump into it, gentlemen, and break this one down between these two teams. I mean, this is a classic Gears matchup dating back to the Optic Splice days and so many, of course, great rosters. I'm excited for this one. E United versus Knights. Ribs, your initial reactions, your initial thoughts?
Oh yeah, it's a classic matchup. To have it here in our winners quarterfinals, it's just definitely a treat. I'm very excited to see how those two teams play today. United already playing against Fire and Ice, playing against Rebel. Now another Latin American tyrant they're going to have to go against just to keep their winners bracket hopes alive.
That's true. And the Knights won 3-0 in their winners bracket round 1 matchup. They got a little bit of a warm up here. So that being said, Knights might be warmed up. United, of course, is United, a great squad who went undefeated in their group play overall. So I'm excited to see this one. We will have that matchup ready to break down when we come back after this short break.